Hello and welcome to the Tuesday show. My name is James Chen. I am joined by Mr. Ultra David, Mr. Tubaware. How you guys doing?
I'm doing fantastic. May the force be with everybody. Additionally, it's early May. What's going on, Tupperware?
I'm doing it very well. Eat it, Casimir. Ha
What?
We're editing now, so he can eat it.
Yeah, he's just telling good old Casimir, who's our editor these days, that he can honk off.
Yeah.
Exactly. Nice work. Nice work. Here's what we got for you all today. You can see this on the side here. I can't believe all those words fit. NRS and Bandai put out a statement saying that WePlay won't be able to do stuff with their games anymore. We'll talk about that. Some players have had injuries. We'll talk about that as well. Capcom unbanned Ceroblast. We'll have an interview with Kizzie Kay that I'm excited for, as I know the rest of these fellows are as well. We're going to have fun 5-5 matchup topics for you all. We got some other game news. There's actually significant other community news to talk about. Some fun tournament results. And then we have a gaggle of UCTV mailbag questions today. A gaggle of them. We got a murder of them.
Dang, okay.
A whole rucksack full.
Correct. I don't know what you just said, but I like it.
A rucksack. It's what they say.
A rucksack. That's right. When you're carrying it around as you're carrying your bindle as a hobo in the 1910s. Let's start by talking about Bandai and NRS's statements with respect to WePlay. So as a little bit of a background here, WePlay has had tournaments in Ukraine that are extremely high production. And they've been using NRS's Mortal Kombat 11, and they've been using Bandai Namco's Tekken and Soul Calibur 6 for those events. And they also have a sponsor in 1xBet that we've talked about in the past that's pretty shady and seems to have been doing some illegal stuff, and maybe its founders are wanted criminals. So that's a bummer. And then the last of their events was now a couple of weeks ago, right? We talked about it. Again, really good production. Everybody who went there, all the players said that they had a good time. That was the case for each one of the events that they ran. Well, now, a couple weeks after that, both NRS and Bandai Namco put out statements that were really similar. I'll read them for you because they're short.
About at the same time as well, right?
Yeah, at the same time as well, yeah. NetherRealm Studios is constantly striving to foster the best esports tournaments for our dedicated fans and community. Due to differences in vision, we will no longer allow our games to be utilized in WePlay-operated esports events. And then Bandai's was, Bandai Namco Entertainment is constantly striving to deliver the best esports tournaments and events to please our players and fans. Due to differences in vision and professional standards, we will no longer be working with WePlay as an esports tournament organizing partner. So, like Tubbo said, those came out at really similar times. They're very similar statements. I mean, it seems to me like maybe they coordinated on this. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, you think?
It definitely gives off that appearance.
Yeah. And
so as far as why, they didn't give like an explicit explanation. Yeah, there's no explicit explanation. I think the best that we can guess is the 1xBet may be a big part of this. There were also there was an instance where they took the character model or like made a new one somehow of some of the characters and had them do like kind of some silly or dumb things.
Like what?
For example, they had, you didn't see any of these, huh?
No.
So they had Scorpion and Sub-Zero like playing a guitar, and the other one was singing and like doing like funky dancing. I thought it was pretty funny. They also had
the weird alternate reality stuff with Sonic Fox too.
Yes, they had the weird alternate not alternate reality,
augmented reality,
yeah, where Shiva like interviewed Sonic Fox after Sonic Fox won, and it was like real awkward and weird. And then for the Bandai stuff, they had a scene where Ivy was doing like basically a pole dance.
Yeah.
Basically a pole dance.
James, I thought you were a Soul Calibur fan. You didn't watch the Soul Calibur?
So I was watching all the replay stuff, and I've been skipping between everything and going straight to the matches. So
this was actually before. This was before the actual tournament started. They had a DJ each day, like playing a DJ set.
Okay.
And Ivy was dancing to that. And then there was also a situation where they showed like a "We'll Be Back" screen or something like that, and that screen had what appeared to be Ivy taking a shower in the back, and you couldn't like see it, but like she's behind a curtain, and like it's definitely Ivy like taking a shower there. So I don't know. All I can do is speculate as to why this may have happened. Nobody has said it publicly as far as I've seen. So anyway, that's the speculation. What did Shiva sound like? 16-bit asks. Yeah, kind of like a deep voice. I mean, kind of how you would expect. They kind of similar to the game, to be honest. But yeah, it was augmented reality Scorpion jamming out to some song. It was like an 80s song. Anyway, I thought it was funny. But
generic 80s song.
Absolute generic 80s song. I don't know why for sure. These are just my speculations. I don't know if you guys have ideas as well.
I don't know. I mean, I'd like to
over here. Get over here. Anyway.
I'd like to hope that 1xBet was part of the reason they bailed. Because 1xBet is super shady. But, I mean, we don't know. We don't know. 1xBet is involved with other esports and things like that, and they don't seem to be getting upset about it. I don't know, man. Whatever. I'm glad that they did something, I guess. Like, yeah. I didn't really enjoy that 1xBet was sponsoring those events.
Yeah.
Again, that doesn't mean if you wanted to hire me, I wouldn't fully support it at that point. But yeah, like seriously, like it seemed shady. So I'm glad that they took a stand.
Yeah. Look, it's tough, right? Because a lot of these esports organizations, they want to use fighting games as a way to kind of get into the esports door because it's a cheaper way to do it, et cetera, et cetera. However, they also want to try to one-up everything that the FGC has done before. I mean, we saw some of that attitude already, with people saying, oh, we're going to blow the door open on FGC production and stuff. And so, you got to find people to give you money to do that. And it seems like they were willing to go with a shady organization, which kind of sucks. So, it's a tough road. Honestly, obviously you don't want to partner with groups like 1xBet. So glad that these companies pulled out of there. But man, it's just like, that's what makes trying to grow the scene so hard.
Yeah, I do want to say, as some people are saying in the chat, WePlay has been around for many years at this point, and they've done Dota and Hearthstone to my knowledge.
That's why I specifically said FGC. That's why I specifically said FGC, because most of these companies that would sponsor something like Dota and stuff like that have reasons to, because they'll get the numbers. But when it comes to FGC, they're not going to get those numbers. So if they want the money to sponsor an FGC event, it's going to be a little bit harder. So,
yeah, I think that probably is true. I mean, yeah, look, I was upset that they were being sponsored by 1xBet. It's not that I care like super much that it's gambling. I think that's not really like my issue with it. It's that it's like this illegal criminal enterprise.
Yeah.
So if the goal here is to be like, look, we don't want to be associated with 1xBet, then I understand. But I also feel like it would have been nice if they had said that publicly. Maybe they said that internally. I don't know. But at least publicly, leaving us to be like, well, was it the 1xBet situation, or like was it like one of these other things or whatever? Undercuts it a little bit in my view. I don't know. I mean, I get it. If again, presumably this is the reason. If it is, I totally understand. It's not something that I would want to be involved with either, for sure. And we've talked about 1xBet and its history and how it has all these problems. We talked about this in an earlier episode. I just wish that there was a little bit more clarity on what the reason was. Yeah. That's all. I think that's my only issue with this.
And, honestly, if WePlay just came out soon and was like, we are no longer using 1xBet as a sponsor, that's it. Great. Perfect.
Yeah. What I thought was more interesting was WePlay's response.
Okay.
Which seemed rather unprofessional. And they said, just wait and see. We're going to show you. We're going to do more FGC stuff. And they're real cocky about it. And they said something along the lines of, we were just trying to give the FGC the events they deserve or something like that. Like we don't already have amazing events.
Yeah, I'll read it for you because it's pretty short as well. WePlay has always strived to raise the standards in every tournament we put together by delivering the highest quality events, using innovative production techniques, and providing the best conditions for players and talents alike. With WUFL Season 1, we put together one of the most memorable FGC tournaments to date, approved by both Bandai and NRS. Our goal was always and still is to provide the community with a world-class event that everyone can enjoy. The news received today caught us by surprise. Since WUFL began and after the event finished, we tried to discuss the future seasons, go over feedback, and address the first seasons with both NRS and Bandai, but have had no response. Our vision and dedication to the FGC have not changed, and we will continue to move forward by making amazing events and content that the community deserves. So, pretty short. I mean, the takeaways for me in this, I think, were that they said approved by Bandai and NRS. I think the intention there is to be like, look, you guys said this was cool, right? Yeah. and without statements from NRS and Bandai Namco, it's like hard to know really like what that means, what that entails. What did they approve? Did they approve like the fact of can you run a tournament? Sure. Or like did they get into the weeds of like what was cool in this event?
It comes off to me like they're challenging NRS and Namco to say something. Like who does that? Like usually when a company like that makes a statement and it's very vague, the response, if there's one at all, is usually also very vague. Like, thanks for the opportunity. Hopefully we're working together in the future, blah, blah, blah. Move on. But they kind of challenged them, and they were like, we're going to keep doing this. And, okay, I guess. I don't know, man. It came off as very unprofessional and cocky to me. But maybe I'm just reading too much into it.
I'm just trying to think.
I think that's understandable, especially with some of what James talked about and, like, how, you know, some of what James Banks said earlier before he, like, I guess my understanding is ironed that stuff out with people who talked about. That I think that's an understandable reading for this. Again, like, I wish that this had also talked about what's up. Like, in their response, they must know that 1xBet is the likely cause of this, right? Like, that can't be a mystery to anybody. I'm assuming it is that's the reason, but like I feel like that's just it's probably right.
Yes, that's what I would imagine as well.
So why wouldn't they talk about it as well, or just? I mean, as a lawyer, I know that there are situations where like you sign a contract and you can't back out of it, and maybe they sign some agreement with 1xBet where it's like 1xBet sponsors them for a while, and WePlay doesn't have the ability to back out. But I will say that most commonly in contracts that I see and that I write, the sides have the ability to back out if the other side's really making them look bad. It's called a morality clause, and it's pretty standard in stuff like this. And so if the other side turns out to be like a racist ass and is just out there on Twitter saying awful stuff, you can back away, right? I don't want to be associated with this. That's very common. And I would hope, I guess, that kind of thing would be at play here as well, but I don't know. And the fact that 1xBet also sponsors ESL, you know, ESL's out there doing some other stuff, and I haven't seen them actively promote 1xBet in the way that WePlay was doing, but like I think the argument for 1xBet here is like they're trying to make things happen. They sign contracts. They're just trying to get involved in esports, and they probably don't want WePlay to get away. I don't know. All I can do is speculate. I wish that WePlay would back away from them, though. I mean, really, as we talked about before, that's not something that I want to be associated with, or that the scene wants to be associated with.
Yeah, and you know, it's kind of straying from this a little bit, this topic of 1xBet, but you know, kind of going into that whole statement that, you know, Tubaware was saying, like, it sounds kind of like they're challenging and everything. You know, one of the questions that I always like to ask myself, honestly, is, you know, people are always like, oh, dude, you know, we want to see better production values. But then whenever a fighting game tournament has the DJ segment, or when they do something like that, people are always like, this is useless. We just care about the matches. Don't show any of this stuff and blah, blah. I'm curious what... And we don't even have to answer this or discuss this, or maybe we can even save it for a 5-5 next week, or maybe an impromptu one today. But what do people actually want out of like production or something. When they say I want to see fighting game tournaments have higher production instead of being grassroots. I mean, is it that they like the little stadium, the arena with the little screen that falls down and has the video on it and everything like that? Do they like pole dancing Ivy? I mean, like,
here's the first mistake here, James. You read Twitch chat. Just don't.
What do you mean?
That means nothing, man. If matches are happening, people are complaining about the matches. If there's a DJ on, they're going to complain about the DJ. People in Twitch chat they're just going to complain, man.
Not like the current one. Everybody's cool in that ultra chat.
Everybody in this chat, absolutely perfect.
Right.
But see,
all the other Twitch chats.
Right. I mean, theoretically, yeah, but I mean, I there definitely is a lot more vocal disgust with, you know, unneeded musical acts and everything like that. I remember you were very critical, for example, of the Pocky KO challenge that was at, you know, Capcom Pro Tour and stuff like that. So there's a lot of pushback against these kind of things. And, you know, if, let's say the Rick got like gobs of money, what do people actually want to see? That's the question, you know. What is it that people actually would like to see? Just a cooler set? You know, more effects? That's just really, I'm just curious. Because, you know, I can just imagine that somebody would be like, here's these cool effects, here's all these cool things. And then people would be like, why'd you spend money on that? Why didn't you just put the money towards the pot? You know, I'm just curious to see what people actually want.
Well, I'm not really sure, but I can tell you that I saw comments on Twitter and the like that were like, I can't believe, speaking to NRS and Bandai, I can't believe you guys cut ties with WePlay, because like that's all that was keeping your game alive. Those were the best events, and now that they're not going to be there, like just real stupid stuff. I know that the game of these three that I follow the most is MK. There are more than one tournament every single night. More than one. Like, it's very common that the players DQ themselves from one event to play in another, or like hold up one to play another. Like, it's happening all the time. There's so many events. I know that there are at least several for Tekken and for Caliber as well. Like, I can think of at least a few for both of those. So these are games that they're doing okay. Like, they are absolutely not dying. But I also saw some takes from a couple of the players who did go to WePlay, who basically said that, you know, aside from like whether it's keeping the scene alive, their competitive drive isn't the same if there's not like in-person play, if there's not money on the line. And WePlay had those two things, and so they felt that it was like one of the few situations lately where they've really been able to get into it. Sure. Which I get that feeling.
Well, you know.
Anyway,
hopefully by the end of the year, you can have more of those situations here in the States and not have to go to Ukraine with the invite of 16 people or whatever, you know. Hopefully we can have real events. That would be nice.
I mean, the thing that I want most out of this is just, for me, the ideal situation is WePlay is like, all right, everybody, sorry that we were doing the 1xbet thing. That was our bad mistake. Like, whoever made the bad choice, yada, yada, we're not going to do that anymore. And then I don't know if that makes NRS or Bandai say, okay, you can have our games again. I have no idea.
Well,
but
I mean,
that's what I hope they would do at least.
It seems like if that was what WePlay was willing to do, then Bandai Namco and NRS probably wouldn't have put out that statement. How much you want to bet they talked to WePlay and WePlay wasn't backing down?
Well, WePlay said they reached out and Namco and NRS didn't respond.
Oh,
yeah,
this is true.
They did say
challenging them.
Right.
They're trying to get them to say 1xbet. Like, they want that public confirmation, I think. It's really weird. It's like they're puffing their chest out. Like, what are you going to do? And the answer is Bamco and NRS are going to do anything because they don't care.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's under their control. I think there's a separate question that we've talked about in the past I won't get into too much, but, like, should publishers have the ability to prevent other people from playing their games in tournaments? I don't know. That seems like a huge bummer. But that's the law. Certainly, that is the law. And they have the ability to control that.
Yeah.
So it's their call ultimately, no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else to say about this one?
Nope.
All right. Well, we move on then. I mean, I don't have like a satisfying conclusion to that either, because it feels like it's up in the air to me. But
Yeah.
let's move on.
FGC, as we've mentioned many times, we've had our share of shady tournament organizers. I talk to Arturo about this all the time. FGC is already so wary about things, and I think we're a little like those of us who have been here for a while, we're definitely more hypersensitive to it. So, moving away from anything that has to do with 1xBet, I think is probably a better idea in the long run. So,
absolutely.
All right, let's start the timer over again. Let's go.
All right. So yesterday, a player named Ominous in the NRS scene. He's been around for many years. He was a really strong player. Hasn't really been doing too well, and in fact, not even competing for the last couple years. And he hadn't talked about why that was publicly, and he finally did. He put out a tweet longer and basically talked about how he's got arthritis, and he's a young guy, but like has arthritis, and that's prevented him from being able to play too much. He has it hurts. He doesn't want to keep doing that to himself. Like, it's just not really compatible with playing and competing really well. So that was unfortunate. Once that came out, though, a couple of other players said similar things. This kind of like gave them the strength to announce something that they had been dealing with. So Splash, who's another MK player, he said that he has been dealing with carpal tunnel, with shoulder and joint issues himself, and so that's something that he's been backing off. Like, also a young guy. I think he's 23. Like, these are young folks.
Jeez, man.
And then Forever King, who's been in the scene for a decade, basically since MK9 has been strong. Yeah, definitely. He has he was a top player, right? He was super
he's
good.
One of the best ones. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. But for the last couple of years, it has not been that way. And he said that the cause of that is his own physical problems, right? His own sort of joint, carpal tunnel related, arthritis related issues. And that in Injustice 2, he already felt it, but it was a legacy game, and he played Batman, which is a legacy character from Injustice 1. So he didn't feel like he needed to grind as much to like learn how to compete and how to be good. And so he was still good in that game. But when MK11 came out, which is really quite different than MK's before, with some new characters, and many returning characters are like really different than before.
Right.
He didn't feel that way. So he the most he can play is a couple hours a day. Meanwhile, other people who are really trying to get good are spending half the day on the game, really training up, and he just couldn't do that. So he realized that players were surpassing him, and he couldn't keep up because he just couldn't train enough. And so he's been kind of backing off from competing, and when he does compete, he doesn't do as well as he did before. So those are the three that kind of came out with this over the last day. But I mean, they're not at all the only people who this has happened to. Alex Myers right now is somebody who's been talking about how he has his own joint-related issues, and that's been a big problem for him. I can think of Julio, just going to say, and I'm sure there are many others too. Maybe not many others, because like we're not an old scene, but doubtless some others at least. I have, of course, it's something I've been talking about for a long, long time. That's why I retired in 2012. It's my own physical issues that I then, half a dozen years later, finally got physical therapy for in a way that actually has helped me out. But that took a long time. So injuries in the FGC. Basically, I just wanted to talk about what you guys think is like potential causes for this, what people can do for it, and how do you feel about it in general?
I mean, the one thing that comes to my mind, obviously, is the Smash scene. Because the Smash scene has definitely had a lot of problems with it. But that was also because the GameCube controller was just, not the most ergonomic of design. And even if it wasn't, actually, it is a pretty ergonomic controller, just not for what they are doing in Smash, right? With the, constant shielding and everything like that. And, part of my mind immediately went to, I wonder if it has something to do with maybe the block button in Mortal Kombat on pads, because if you're holding the block button, you might accidentally hold it harder than you're supposed to because of just how people are, and because you're freezing one hand and trying to move everything around and stuff like that. I wonder if it has something to do with that. Now, obviously, Kitana Prime responded to my question and said Ominous is a hitbox player. That immediately made me think of Sajam, because Sajam actually almost messed up his hands with the hitbox. So it's just really, like, it's starting to open up my mind about these controllers, and thinking a lot about what you're doing, actually, David, trying to coming up with the most ergonomic controllers out there. Because what it really comes down to now is, you know, when people ask, should I use a joystick? Should I use a pad? Should I use a hitbox? Honestly, the answer is I don't even think is any of them are the best now. Find what is just most comfortable to you, and make sure that you don't kill your hands, you know? And I think that's just really where we're going now. Again, I'm wondering if Mortal Kombat has anything specific to it that makes it so that, like Smash, it's particularly prone to this. But as you mentioned, David, we've obviously had a lot of evidence of you know, like Alex Myers and Julio and other players. Goichi even's having trouble at one point in time. And then who was it? Kudans, who basically had to learn how to play Tekken from scratch, practically. Not from scratch, but control it in a different way so that he didn't hurt himself anymore, you know. So, curious.
Yeah, I don't know that it's the game. I think that would be surprising. Some segment of the population's prone to this stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, how many people that is, what percentage that is, but, like, we all know people who have had issues like this too, even outside of top players. People who get carpal tunnel, maybe they type too much, maybe they use their phone too much or whatever, and
genetics, man. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think some people are predisposed to it. So I do think it's important to try to look for the ergonomic stuff. I think when it comes to, like, which controller you should use, all I think I should say is probably don't play on, like, an old school heavy spring American stick with the 6 buttons that are, like, horizontal from each other and really spaced out, and have really concave buttons. Like, that's really actually bad.
Hey, look, John Choi is still pretty fit right now.
I thought about that a little bit, David, and, you know, there's a lot of people who get injuries in their wrist from using their mouse, because they just use their wrist for their mouse, right? If you play on one of those old hapsticks, you can't use your wrist. You have to use your whole arm. And if you're hitting these buttons, you have to pick your hand up to hit each button. You can't, like, space, unless you have massive hands. You can't space your fingers on those buttons. So I'm thinking that since you have to use your full range of motor functions, that maybe using something like that is actually better, which would explain why Valle and Watson and Choi are still around and can still use those things.
That is actually a pretty interesting point. Right. Yeah, you're right. You definitely have to put, like, your whole shoulder and elbow into it.
Your whole arm gets buff.
My mouth completely. So I turn my sensitivity on my mouse very low, so that I have to use my whole arm to use my mouse, and I retrain myself how to use my mouse.
Interesting.
So that's from experience. Like, I know that that shit happens.
My mouse sensitivity is pretty high because I don't have a lot of real estate. And recently, you know, it's a combination of the phone, but also just me using the mouse at this setup, that my right arm is starting to get a little bit carpal tunneled right now. So,
well, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
So I have been talking with a couple of the guys who spoke yesterday about the fact that they don't really feel like they can play anymore. Some of them have actively been pursuing solutions to this for a while, just like haven't really found the trick. I don't know that there is a trick, right? Like, this is not everybody's solution to something that is actually that can be solved, I think is what I should say. But, like, I hope that they can. So I've been talking with them about it because when it happened to me 10 years ago, really, is when I started to notice it in 2011, I think. When that happened, it felt very lonely, I think, because very few people had that. I mean, we just weren't at an age where that was common. I don't know. There hadn't been that many people. There weren't a ton of fighting game players either, to be honest. The scene was much smaller. So I didn't know anybody to talk with about it. I knew one guy, and he didn't really want to talk about it. So it was lonely. And although I had lots of friends, like, who I did talk with about it sometimes, it's just not easy to have a situation that few people like actually can empathize with, you know. So like 1 year you're like winning tournaments, and then the next year you can't make it out of pools, and the next year you retire because of physical stuff, not because you became an idiot. Like, it's just you can't control yourself anymore. That's really frustrating. And I mean, it's hard to retire from something that you love regardless, but like, I don't know that there's not an infrastructure in the FGC, and probably nearly not in esports in general, for people who have had that trajectory, because it's just not that common yet. I think it will probably become more common, as people are talking about in the chat, but for now it's pretty rare. So I really want to have like discussions with people, and not even just to be like, here's how you solve it, because like I'm not a physical therapist or a doctor. I only know what happened with my situation.
Right.
But like, just to maybe give them a little bit of feedback. Here's something else to try. Here's another way to phrase this. Here's another way to look at it. Or if nothing else, just to be like, look, I know it sucks. Crappy situation, I know. Because like, few other people understand how crappy it feels. I mean, for me, in looking back, you know, I've talked about this before. I went through significant depressions in the 2010s. And I really think that this had a big part to do with it, because I couldn't do the things that I loved the most, playing video games and playing sports. I just had, those were both gone, and those outlets weren't there. I thought of myself, like my self-conception was fighting game player, among other things, and I couldn't do the fighting game player or those other things. And that just, it was a real big problem. And I don't want to see a next generation of players go through that without at least having somebody who can be like, yeah, I can commiserate with you on how this sucks.
Yeah, and again, I just think it's so important just to test out all the different things, because, like, you know, Hitbox to me was like the future, right? This is the thing that's going to save us all from hand pains. And then, you know, Sajam's situation came out, and it just really depends on the person, the angles, how tense you get when you do everything. Like, the way that I type, I'm never going to get carpal tunnel from typing because I don't touch type. Like, my hands are floating, and they're never in a weird angle or anything like that. You know what I mean?
He types with his mind.
Yeah, I type with my mind. I mean, honestly, when I use a joystick, it's very similar. My hand is never holding on to the joystick. Everything is just kind of floating and just kind of going wherever it needs to go. So my hands aren't particularly tense when I play joystick. And so, you know, I think if I played a pad, I would probably get more tense, because I've actually played, you know, 3D games before where I'll be holding on the analog stick, but I want to move faster, so I start pushing harder on the stick, and my thumb starts to slide off of it because also my thumb is getting sweaty and stuff like that. And, you know, like, if I played on a pad, I probably would end up with carpal tunnel. But so just find what works best for you, and when you do, make sure you stretch, make sure you strength train your hands, your wrists, your arms, and you know, and just, if you start to feel uncomfortable, just put it in mind really soon, really quickly. Just keep it in the back of your head, you know.
So Tumbler, you said that you had problems with the mouse.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I didn't have a lot of desk space, so I had like one of those tiny mouse pads.
Right.
So I just learned to use really high sensitivity and only my wrist.
Has that ever been a problem for you also in fighting games?
No, not at all.
What do you think is the difference about how you're approaching those situations?
When I hit buttons like this. Like, my wrist is firm. It's my fingers that are moving. But if with my mouse, it was complete wrist action. A lot of left and right. If I play fighting games, there's basically no left and right with my wrist.
Yeah.
Huh.
Same thing here. Same thing. Like I said, my hand is floating, so my wrist never moves when I actually play fighting games. It's just me back and forth. Closest ever gets to when I have to hit multiple buttons, you know.
I think it's what James was saying about different controllers all being okay if it's just in kind of a person by person basis. I think there is truth to that, but I also think that there are people who are using the thing that they're playing with in an incorrect way, in a way that's harmful to them. Like, so a couple of the players talked about the fact that they now, having like realized that they're in bad shape, that they've been playing wrongly with the pad, like putting their hands in wrong situations or just like dangerous ones, and having bad posture. And you can definitely do that. And I know people who play on stick, who I look at their hands sometimes when they're playing, and guys who have their wrists like all wild like this. You ever seen that? They have, like, really weird positions in their hands. And that stuff, now that I think about it, that's worrying, I think, for long term. And so regardless of whether you're playing on hitbox, and different people even play on hitbox differently, right? Some people have their wrists really close together and they're kind of like splayed out like this. Some people are taking it at different angles. I think we have to like do a better job at showing people how to play the one that they're trying to use. Maybe before even being like, well, have you tried pad instead, or have you tried hitbox instead? At the start, just be like, hey, like, are you holding the stick correctly? Are you holding your hands in the right spot? Like, or are you holding the pad incorrectly? Or like, what? Like, how are you approaching these situations? Because
I want a world.
I think it can be better.
Where the FGC is so big that you can make a living being a consultant on what controller you should use.
That sounds pretty sick.
I mean,
I want to be a professional video game controller expert and be able to advise people and train them on how to use a hitbox and an arcade stick and a pad.
Well,
that would be sick.
Don't forget that we had Caitlin McGee on here before, and she's part of the 1-hp.org, and that's kind of what that 1-hp.org is designed for, right? They're trying to help everybody. They work with a lot of Smash players and a lot of the people who are using keyboard and mouse, games on the PC and stuff like that, and so, it's getting there. I still remember Squall, BXA Squall, the fighting game player. I remember one time he asked me, because he was in school studying about physical therapy and stuff that. And he was like, what should I do, James? Like, should I just drop this and go esports, or should I do this? And I was like, you can combine them, become a physical therapist for esports guys and stuff like that. And he was like, it's a pretty sick idea. So, I don't know if that's where he actually, pursued it and stuff like that. But, I think that that's an important area to go into. As esports grows, the kind of injuries that we can get as players is every bit as prevalent as just regular sports, right? So, or I'm sorry, A-sports. It's every bit as prevalent as A-sports. So, I think it's a worthy field to go into. I think it's something that Tubo's absolutely right on. This needs to become like an area, a profession for people.
Well, I do know that physical therapists do specialize, or maybe not even specialize, but like understand injuries from typing and from using a mouse, because that's even outside of games. We've been doing that just for work for like 30 years at this point. Right? Like there are people whose whole careers has been like that. So yeah, there are occupational therapists, there are physical therapists who are doing that stuff.
Dude, the worst carpal tunnel I ever got was from our computer lab when I first started at my last company, which was there were 2 racks of computers, because this is before virtual machines and everything like that. And so the machines on the top, we had to use the mouse like this, like up here like this, and then down here. But the ones that were up here, like, eventually my arm almost exploded. I remember, dude. It was, God, it was so painful.
Should have got a ladder.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
A step stool.
Just like a chair that just goes up and down, like with a joystick, kind of thing.
Anyway, bummer about that. Hope for the best for the players and for everybody else, and it sucks. If any of you have had issues like that and you need somebody to talk to because nobody else gets it, let me know, because it's something that I have had to deal with and have. I'll never be 100%, but like I'm not at 10% anymore. I can tell you that much. I'm definitely improving.
Yeah, but the main thing right now, the number one takeaway from this is, while you're playing, be aware. If at any point in time you feel like after your long session your hand feels sore or whatever, and you're like, whoa, this is weird, make sure you stretch it and then think about how you're holding the controllers. And like, if you are playing on a pad but you spend your whole time for some reason playing the pad diagonal like this, or just whatever, just make sure that it's something that you're thinking about as you're playing these games, because that's a big deal.
Do you think that the kids who do hyper tapping are going to have hands in 5 years?
100%.
Like, are they just going to?
No. Joseph has already talked.
They're going to explode for sure.
Oh, Joseph has already talked about it. He's already talked about how it's hurting him, because when he plays like this, he moves his thumb over here to right tap like this while he's still, so he has to freeze his hand in this weird position so he can still hit left and right and tap like here. He's already talked about how his hands are kind of suffering a little bit, and he's had to try to ease up on that as well. So, which is why I think we need to start, I said it last time, that we need to just start looking at different controllers for Tetris. Just like start letting us use joysticks that we can double tap on and stuff. So
the controller is 35, 36, 37 years old.
Yeah, and it wasn't comfortable when I was a kid. Like, it's just
Right.
not comfortable.
there was no ergonomic expert who designed this thing.
Literally a box with buttons.
Yeah, it was definitely just some engineer who was like, okay, you guys need a controller? Here's a box.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on here. So the next one is from Capcom, about Capcom. Now, a year ago, Capcom banned Ceroblast for saying racist stuff, using the N-word on stream. And that was in conjunction with banning somebody else. I don't remember. And that was a year ago, right? And that was obviously the last year was like one of the sets of biggest sets of protests in U.S. history with respect to race or with anything, right?
Right.
It's been a huge topic for the whole country, and even internationally. So I think that's kind of the setting of this. Well, now, as of a few days ago, Capcom put out this statement. Capcom has made the decision to lift the Capcom Pro Tour suspension of the player known as Ceroblast. Blast Cero was excluded from participating in the Capcom Pro Tour 2020 season, but has since shown remorse for their inappropriate behavior. We hope that she has learned from this incident and will be a more positive force in the community moving forward. If any future violations occur, Capcom will permanently ban Ceroblast from all Capcom events. Capcom is continually evaluating all players that have received bans and will periodically lift bans on a case-by-case basis. That's the full statement. And then Ceroblast just said, I can compete again. I'm sorry again for my past mistakes, and moving forward now, I will continue to do better. What do you guys think about this?
Dude, this is such a mixed bag for me. Like, there's so much that I like and so much that I don't like. One, I'm glad that shows that we have a process by which we can unban people, and there is, a form in which we can reevaluate and allow people back in because of the ability for self-improvement and such. What I don't like is the vagueness of showing great remorse in, like, that's what we just kind of have to go on. Another thing that's kind of frustrating, and I've seen a lot of people mad about this, very justifiably so. The racist language was very anti-black, and so the person who had the anti-black language is the one that's forgiven right away. You know what I mean? Like, so it just feels kind of unfair to the black community out there that this is kind of what happened, because a lot of them don't have the signs of the remorse, or they probably haven't had any reason to feel like anything has changed. And so there's definitely there's a lot of parts on this that we kind of have to go by on faith, I guess, that they have improved and such. And I there's no way you can certify anybody like, oh, he took the anti-racist test and he scored 100, or there's no way you can do that for somebody, so it's hard to tell. So it's just I haven't quite yet figured out how to process this fully yet. You know what I mean? I'm still trying to figure out on my own side of how to feel about this. So yeah, I mean, I'm curious what you guys are thinking about this. So, like, Tubo, what's your take on this?
I don't really have one. You use the word process a lot, James, but there was no process.
Right.
It was just one day Capcom decided, okay, that's enough, and here we are. So, like, what is the process? How does one atone for their sins,
Right.
for lack of a better way to say it.
Exactly.
Like how I don't think there is a process, and I do think you're just completely at the mercy of Capcom or Namco or whoever banned you or whatever, and that's fine. It's totally fine. It's their choice. It's their game, etc., etc. It's just it's weird to me. Like I don't know. Yeah, I don't have much thoughts on it. I hope that Cero learned her lesson and can move forward and all that. But I also think of like Infiltration, who avoided a ban by saying he'll step away for X amount of time and then didn't step away for X amount of time. It's like, yeah, I'll be gone for a year, and then within like 9 months he was at Evo. So it just, I don't know. I wish things were more black and white. I wish these companies would make things clear on how they're going to go about banning people and how they will go about forgiveness and things like that. But the real answer is it's not black and white, and it is tough, and it'll always be a judgment call. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I think that's right too. I mean, when there's an issue like this, I look at the people who felt attacked by it, right? Like that's the people who I'm most concerned about in these situations.
Right.
So in this case, the Black community, and whether I'm like upset about it or not is like maybe not of like no importance, but like it's much less important than whether they're upset about it. And from what I've seen, people are upset about it still, and they didn't feel like there was a real change of heart. I haven't followed it enough to know if there's been a change of heart. I don't know what Cero's doing on her stream or not. It's not something I've been looking at, but that's what I've seen people say on Twitter, that they don't see like how, like what changed. Like they, it's unclear to them. So like I said, I think it's important to look at the people who have been aggrieved when discussing like whether it's time to move on from something. And if they are still aggrieved, and if they don't feel like there's been a significant change, then that feels to me like it's the most relevant to the situation. And it doesn't seem like they feel that way. So from that angle, it doesn't feel like a good decision. I mean, on the other hand, like it is important to have like a way to get back if the person has moved on. Well, not just moved on, but like has learned and changed. Exactly. Yeah, that definitely is important to like know that that's an option. But yeah, there doesn't seem to be like a public process. And I think in particular, I think back to what David Com Warrior said on our stream last year when we had guests on to talk about like how it is to be Black in the FGC and larger world during all the BLM initial protests. And he was basically like, look, Capcom, like I don't care if you're doing things that are like supposed to make me feel better. I want to be like in that room, or I want somebody from my community in that room making those decisions. And I don't know if that's there. I can't be sure that it's not there because I don't actually know that many people who work at Capcom anymore. I don't know like who works there, but that's definitely sticks in my mind, and I'm not sure just based on how this was decided and announced that they do have that.
Yeah, that's why I like at first I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. There's an appeals process, and that's kind of neat to see, and all these things like that. And then I definitely started seeing the response from much of the Black community in the FGC, and that's what really, again, it's good because this is educational for me as well and eye-opening, and it was good to see that kind of point of view and understand that mindset as well. And so that's what kind of got me into this position of kind of questioning it a little bit more. It is a hard topic. A lot of people in the chat, 16-bit saying like, it's how do you judge this kind of thing, right? Like everybody is agreeing that this is just something that's almost impossible to figure out how to evaluate, and it is a weird situation. I don't know what the process is. I wish I had this great idea. I wish I could invent the the racist detection beam that you can actually see how racist people are, and be kind of neat, but it's impossible. Right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know what else there is to say on this. The question below us is, was it a good call? I think all I can say is that I would defer to the people who feel like they're to the people who are in the aggrieved community, and it seems like they don't think it's a good call, and so that's, that seems like the authoritative take to me.
Yep.
I mean, like that's what I would want in situations where there's anti-Semitism. Like sometimes I see people being like, "Oh, this wasn't a big deal," where like I think it's a really big deal, and other people. There are other times where I'm like, well, I don't think that's a big deal. And then other people are like, shouldn't you be mad about that? Like, I understand how that kind of thing feels. It's not something that happens as often as like anti-Black racism, obviously, but it's an insight into it at least. And I think that's how I would want it to be treated in my case, at least. So that's what I would give to them as well.
Okay.
All righty.
Bring on Kizzie.
Yep, let's, I guess, take a break then, and we'll have good old Kizzie Kay on here. We'll talk about playing. We'll talk about competing in multiple games. We'll talk about content creation. We'll talk about Guilty Gear Strive.
I mean, maybe we should even ask Kizzie about what he thinks about this whole entire thing, right? I mean, it'd be kind of interesting. We'll see if he's down.
We should clear that with him before we.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're not gonna just leap onto him.
I don't want to spring that on him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, all right,
hey,
cool.
Kizzie, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back, guys. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Tuesday show. We are bringing on our guest for today, and it is none other than the man himself, Mr. Kizzie Kay. How you doing, Kizzie?
What's going on? How's everybody doing?
Thanks for joining us, man. You're looking good.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. You guys are looking pretty good too.
You could be honest. I look like trash. It's okay. It's fine.
No, he gave us the delay and then the pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
Good on my end. You guys look good on my end.
Oh man.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for joining us. Yeah, we wanted to have a little conversation with you, a little interview with you. So I figured, what I like to do at the beginning of these things is just ask somebody about their history in the FGC. How did you get into fighting games? How did you get into the competitive scene? What's your history?
Well, fighting games I've been playing since I was a kid, and I mean when I mean kid, I mean like I want to say 8 years old. And
what year was that?
Man, that was like what the Y2K or what a little bit after Y2K, 2002. Yeah, I want to say 2001, 2002.
And
Jeez.
what got you into it? Like
Baby.
what was the first fighting game that you played?
So I grew up in South Central, and that's a very bad neighborhood. And one of the things that my dad always used to want me to do is to he was like, hey, you need to find something that you like to do, right? So he tried various things. He taught me how to do things, and he also bought me my own console. And I was able to play something like fighting games, like Street Fighter and like Clay Fighters, and it just naturally leveled up from having your console, like a Super Nintendo and stuff like that, to like going to the arcades, like to your corner store or like your laundromat, and like playing fighting games from there, like Neo Geo cabs and stuff like that. So that's how basically I started naturally, having really fun with it. And then, when I found that it was like a competitive like environment for it, I, being a competitive person, I was really excited, especially after getting injured playing sports. So I was able to kind of like find like a replacement,
Yeah.
and I just naturally just got into it.
What sport did you play and what happened?
I played football. I tore my ligament shoulder. I tore a ligament off my shoulder. So, yeah.
Oh,
that sucks, dude.
Oh yeah, I don't ever want to relive that again.
Yeah, dude. Same 16-bit. 16-bit in the chat says that parents were disappointed in them for playing video games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I always joke that their fears came true because look at me now. But
well,
look at me now. I'm just a world-renowned commentator.
broke ass mofo here. So
well, my mom, she hated me playing video games.
Okay.
But my mom and dad wasn't together, so when I went to my dad's house, he was like, "You could play anything you want." I went back home, you ain't playing nothing. And I'm just like, all right, I'll just wait until like the 5 days to like play it, right?
Nice.
But then as you getting older, you start developing like strategies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you start playing the game behind their back and things like that. So I was able to like, you know, learn tech at a young age, you know?
Nice work. So what was it about fighting games in particular that drew you to them?
You know, it was more of just like a way. I mean, I feel like fighting games, like character wise, the characters you pick, and like just play styles, like it's very expressive, right? And it's very like fun to like be able to like compete against like other people or like arcade mode at that time, right? You know, when I was playing in arcades, a lot of people in the neighborhood would go to this specific arcade, and whoever had the high score would put their initials on it.
Yeah.
So it was like a competitive thing where you'll come to the arcade, who got first place? And like, it was like a little compete, right? And sometimes both of you guys would show up and, you know, the person who put the quarter in, we want to try to take them off the cap, you know? It's crazy as a kid, this is how we thought. But, you know, it was just like, yo, we want you off the cap so we can put our initials on first place, you know? And, yeah, like naturally, you know, fighting games start coming out on like, you know, other consoles, you know, like I never played like Killer Instinct, but I used to watch my friends play it. But I played like a lot of Street Fighter. So like, you know, just being able to like hit buttons and like, you know, do the cool stuff, just felt fun and enjoyable, you know?
I mean, when did you start kind of believing and understanding that you could be more than just doing the cool shit on Street Fighter and stuff and eventually becoming Frosty Fausting's Guilty Gear champion, you know?
Honestly, it's a funny story. It's like, as a like when you think about things of like how kids express themselves in a certain way, but like all of my friends that I grew up with, they used to be like, man, we don't like playing with you. And I didn't understand that as a kid. I'm like, man, what did I do? Right. But it's like, man, you just be figuring out how to like play and just like, you just don't make the game fun. Right.
Yes.
So, you know, they used to like tell me like, man, like if there was a job for you to play video games, they say you would probably be one of the best people in the world to do it.
Wow.
You know, they used to say that, but they used to say it in a way it wasn't like a compliment, but it was more of like a jab.
Absolutely.
But then when you grow up, it actually became a compliment, right?
Joke's on you, buddy.
Yeah. So like, it's funny. It's just funny, like hearing that, right?
Do you go up to your friends and be like, "Look, I just made the game not fun for everybody with your first place trophy"?
Yeah, thanks, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know you guys did it, you know, but I hope you guys enjoyed some of it, right? But yeah, it was just one of those things where those words kind of like stuck a little bit because you was just like, man, there's something like that you could probably do. You could probably structure it in a productive way. And I just went ahead and found that type of area and environment. And now I had to figure out how to work around doing what I enjoy, you know, and also being productive at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Well, how do you think that you made that happen?
Obviously, maturity was a big lesson that I had to learn, and then just how, you know, things work. And also, it's not really about you; it's about your foundation, right? And I learned how important of having a healthy foundation really means to not only me but to the rest of everybody else.
Yeah.
So
actually,
I would say,
if you don't mind me,
go ahead.
If you don't mind me asking, how old are you right now? You don't have to.
I'm 20. I'm 27.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, learning how to have a foundation and just making sure that your foundation is healthy is one of the most important things I learned about being able to do anything you want in this world. You know, so that was one of the things that I had to learn was maturity. The second thing is just like work ethic. Work ethic was one of the things that I also had to learn what was important, you know. And the third is just having a circle that's going to make sure that your best is always being pushed. And your next best should be better than your yesterday. You know? And that was the three things that I basically keep in my mind doing anything.
So you got kind of a structure there.
Yeah.
How did
it took a long time.
Well, I was going to ask, yeah, like how did you even develop that structure in the first place?
Failure, just running at a wall and just falling, and being in pain. Just trial and error, right? And basically just acknowledging. Acknowledgement is really important, right? It's like acknowledging where you stand, where you at, and being able to try to be your best in those situations rather than worrying about other things. Staying in your lane is one of the best things that I will always remember. And I will always stick to that in my daily routine is stay in your lane, because even though your lane may not be faster than the person on the left and you try to hop on and then you realize that you're struggling, just play at your pace and take your time, and it took me a while, but I learned how important it is to have your own lane and create it. You never know what you could bring just by having your own lane,
It almost sounds like a lesson on also how to get good at fighting games too.
Definitely. I would say that. I would say fighting games also helped me with that too.
Mm-hmm.
Just dealing with just bad scenarios, bad matchups and things like that. You got to be very disciplined in a lot of ways.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Sometimes you can't have fun when you're in mid range, but you can have fun when you're up close. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people. I feel like I've always said fighting games require you to look at yourself a lot and really evaluate yourself. So it sounds like life lessons, fighting game lessons. Kind of go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been really good at a bunch of different games, and I mean, part of what I want to talk about is that process of like, how did you come to be good at multiple games simultaneously? How do you juggle playing and training in multiple games simultaneously, and how did you get started doing that?
I would say like one of the things that I want to say that naturally really helped is like playing multiple games as a kid, and like once I've understood how fighting games are played, is learning the founding fundamentals for general games, fighting games, rather than just one, right? So it's very easy for me to pick and point out things that I feel, in my perspective, that is very strong and fits me as a player and, overall just play styles and things like that. Like, I really feel like there is a foundation that you just can learn. And once you learn that, everything becomes 2 + 2 = 4,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. And I just feel like as you progress in different games, there's different equations that you have to learn. But that takes time, right? But the core asset is just like you understand this. You understand how to get from point A to point B. And I feel like once you have that, where you go to point A, point B, then you start seeing how to get to C and down the line and everything else.
Sure.
I feel like you're underselling how difficult that is a little bit. Like I know for many people, it's something that is hard for them. Even players who are really successful in like one individual game find it difficult to be good simultaneously across multiple games. There aren't that many people who have success across multiple different games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for you, like even like subgenres of different fighting games, right? Like kind of like anime air dash fighters, also things like Sam Show. Like you've played pretty different things.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like this kind of the approach that you're bringing of like having an equation, having a structure, are those things that you would attribute to your success in this, or is this something that's different from that?
I would say part of it being able to be successful at it, yeah. But obviously, I really feel that playing it naturally, being young, can also be a big contribute. But I generally believe that if you learn a specific thing, I feel like once you learn it, it takes time. But I feel like once you have an understanding of it, it becomes natural. It becomes like how you wake up in the morning and you brush your teeth. And that's something that you always wake up and you do. Especially if you have a wife. Nobody wants to smell bad breath. So you wake up in the morning and you just like boom, brush your teeth, boom. You know what I'm saying? It's natural. It just naturally just comes out. So I feel that if you ingrain it into like your daily routine, I feel like that you can be successful at it. I don't think that it's necessarily a talent. I do feel there is some talent that works with it, but I truly believe that if you really work hard, you can do it.
Listen, Bob. Listen, everybody who's at top level says that shit and believes that shit. You know why? Because you're fucking talented, bud. That's why you're there. All right? Not everybody. Listen, I can play for 8 hours a day. And, well, I mean, I'll beat Kizzie's ass. But I can play for 8 hours a day, and I'll never beat Daigo's ass. You know? Like, and he can play for 8 hours. His 8 hours are way better used than mine, and there's nothing I can do about it. That dude is a genius, right?
Yeah. I've often talked about how I feel like, you can achieve it and it's not necessarily all talent. For Kizzie, it sounds like a lot of it is talent.
Yeah, this man was like, yep, I wake up, point A to point B, anti-air, footsies, spacing, got it, write it down, throw it in my bag.
I mean, like I said, I run into a lot of walls, and I have a lot of scar on my hand and on my body to even show you that, it may sound easy how I'm speaking it, but I have the scars to show you guys that it wasn't easy.
I'm not saying that you don't work hard. Obviously, if you're at the top of anything, you work extremely hard. I'm just saying we could work even levels, and you're going up here, and I'm like inching, is what I'm saying.
Well, let me ask you this, Kizzie. I'm assuming that this is correct, but your favorite game is Guilty Gear, right? So,
my favorite game is actually BlazBlue.
Oh, okay,
yeah!
okay.
Yes. I actually like it.
Yes.
So-
in the great, this is one of the questions I wanted to ask, and I was going to be a troll about it, and I was going to save it to the end. I was going to ask, which one's better, BlazBlue or Guilty Gear?
Oh, BlazBlue.
You came out with the right answer.
I love BlazBlue. I love Guilty Gear too, but BlazBlue is like, like if BlazBlue ever called me on my phone, I would pick up right now in the middle of the interview. Like I'd be like, you guys gotta hold up.
So
BlazBlue is calling me. Right
what is it about BlazBlue, and what is it about the anime kind of games that appeal to you so much?
I wouldn't even say it's just like the anime side. It's just like the system mechanics, like the options, like the character designs. Usually, like I feel like every character is so different. Like it's almost like, how like everybody loves Killer Instinct because Killer Instinct feels like they have nothing but like different type of characters. That's like BlazBlue, but like with more air dash options. And like that, for example, I naturally chose BlazBlue first. So BlazBlue has that special place in my heart.
Gotcha.
But just, dude, the artwork, like barrier blocking, like instant barrier blocking, like there's so many mechanics that it just makes the game like, even if you play that game for 15 years, you might learn something new today. There's just so many things about that game, and I love variables. And that game has one of the most many variable games. Like it has many variables in that game, and that's another thing that keeps me like, if I play BlazBlue, it's just like, man, that was really good. Like it's just like an adrenaline rush.
Right. So, I'm sure you played a bunch of the Guilty Gear Strive beta. What do you feel about Strive right now, and are you excited about its release coming out pretty soon?
Well, before you answer, what did you think about the last beta, and what do you think about the changes moving forward with the next beta coming up?
Well, I love all fighting games, so I'm naturally going to be hyped for Guilty Gear Strive. Naturally, right? I just love fighting games.
Sure.
I've been pretty hyped for Strive release for a very long time. It got delayed a couple of times. Playing the first beta, I wasn't surprised of the direction that it was going to, and it kind of like made me think about like what's the new like foundation they're trying to aim for. And I felt like for the first beta that it was kind of like, it was like scribble scrabble, right? It was like they had a lot of ideas, but they were stretching themselves too thin, and some of the ideas didn't connect well with each other. But now, reading like the changes and things like that, I can they're slowly trying to tie everything together, And that's naturally how all ArcSys games, when the first game comes out, it's one of the most ham-broken games that you could ever think of, right? So I'm just glad that they're more, first of all, kudos to Arc System Works actually communicating with the U.S. side. Yeah. This is like one of the first companies that's actually doing that from the overseas area. So I'm pretty happy about that. So the fact that they're being vocal and like trying to give an explanation of what their direction is going, I'm very happy about that. So Even though like the first beta wasn't the greatest experience, like in terms of like learning things, I had a lot of fun because it definitely felt like a new and fresh game. And now for the new beta that's coming out, I'm super excited for all the changes that they're going to be introducing. The only thing that I'm really really concerned about is they took away like where you do more hits. It does a lot more pushback,
Oh,
and
really?
I was a little sad about that because I felt like having a lot of hits kind of made it like cool and like creative in a lot of ways. But it seems like they're very afraid of that. So
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that change gets reverted later on in the future. But overall, the direction seems pretty fair for where they want the game to go. So I think it's pretty good from that perspective. So I think the the direction that Arc System Works wants to push Guilty Gear Strive is, I feel like they want players from other games to actually play Guilty Gear and make it as easy and understanding for them. Of course, newer players outside of fighting games, right? But I feel like their main goal was to appeal to them more than the actual Arc System Works players that were playing the game at the time. And with those changes, they did a lot of like adjustments that if you were a older experienced Guilty Gear player, that game felt the most difficult to understand than other players coming in and learning Strive. Like I feel like they had an easier time because they didn't have to unlearn the skills that they learned from the older games, which makes it hard. Imagine trying to learn and then unlearn at the same time. That's like really difficult, right?
It's funny. It's funny, Kizzie, because some Guilty Gear players that are buddies of mine have been giving me shit because I told them I'm not going to learn Xrd because it would screw up my game for Strive. Like, why would I get all this muscle memory for stuff in Xrd that I'm never going to use in Strive? And they've been like, oh, you should still just learn Guilty Gear anyways. Like, I got into heaven on the beta without knowing shit about Guilty Gear, so I'm swagging on them anyways.
Yeah, like I also told a lot of people, I said, hey, if you want to play the older Guilty Gear games, you want to play the game for what it is rather than it getting ready for you for Strive.
Right,
Like
exactly.
you shouldn't play the older games for Strive. You should play it because you want to play new games or you want to play these type of games to like learn the characters. But I always told everybody, I said, hey, if you want to learn this game, it's cool, but don't thinking that this is going to get you ready for Strive. Strive is a whole different foundation, and I said it's fine. I'm like, it's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a good direction for what Arxis want. Like, what Arxis want is it's an amazing direction, right? Because most people who played the game, who never played Guilty Gear before, loved it. They loved that game. They love that game. I haven't heard zero complaints outside of like little various changes, like the lobby system, like anything that is not fighting, like it's out the game. It's like the most complaints, right? So that's why I feel like it was a great success for that perspective.
Yeah, just if you want to learn the old Guilty Gears, learn Potemkin and Xrd, just so you don't have to worry about a lot of the chain combo changes, and you'll suffer, and then you'll get to Strive, and then all of a sudden you'll just have immense power.
Yeah, man, it's just
It's too late for that, man. Strive comes out in a month.
Yep,
Yeah.
like like before you play Strive, you're gonna be having a hard time. You're gonna feel lost, and then when Strive come out, you join the society, and society has your back.
Another question I wanted to ask, because I asked the same thing to Justin as well. You've seen Justin with an increase in the content creation, the differences in the YouTube thumbnails, and he's really kind of and I asked him, how much Panda Global had to do with that. You're part of Panda Global, if I'm not mistaken, right? So, and
Yeah, I am.
Like,
I am
how
part.
much has Panda Global helped you, with your own Kizzie Kay brand and such?
Man, I want to say they did an incredible job, actually, and I am very thankful for the conversations and the team that I have. Like, I feel like the team and family that I like have with them, it's like so special. It's one of those things where like I have great communication and understanding with like various angles of with it's with my manager, it's with my teammates, or it's even with like my YouTube family, like the people that take care of like my editing and things like that. Like I have such a nice, it's so natural, like they'll ask me things, and they'll be like, hey, can you can you do this sometimes? Yo, cool. Like, it's just it's so nice. It's one of the nicest feelings ever. It's really, really nice, and I'm very grateful for just being able. One thing that Panda is always about is like, yo, be yourself, and just, make sure you just have fun doing it. And like, that is the best feeling ever, because you're like, okay, so where do I start? How do I have it? How do I have this much freedom and find the enjoyment with it? And it just naturally starts growing. And it's one of the best things ever, and our motto is hold forward. And like, our goal is to be, the best. So we're going to continue on holding forward and doing that, and I'm very grateful for that.
Was hold forward your motto when you lost to my boy K Loud at Combo Breaker? Because you got hit in the face a lot.
You are blowing it up today, dude.
I mean, K Loud, he wasn't loud enough in top 3 in Frosty. I didn't hear. He was K silent.
That's true.
He was K silent. What happened to that?
And you got revenge.
I actually got him. He was very K quiet. So that's what happened to him. He stopped talking, and then I had to put him down, man.
In the last year, obviously, we haven't been able to travel, play offline events, so it's been different being a top player, right? Like, it's not the same. It doesn't mean the same thing to be a top player now as it necessarily did before. How have you dealt with that? Whether just playing online or in incorporating content creation instead, how do you feel like this all fits together?
So being in an online environment is definitely not my favorite cup of tea. Actually, I'm not a big fan of the tea. Actually, I let people, other people could drink it though. But I'll keep my offline tea on my side. Whenever that comes back. But one of the things that I've come to understand is sometimes you just gotta put things to the side, just to focus on things that are important right now and in the future as well, right? So being online, I'm definitely not a huge fan of it in terms of competitiveness, but I've naturally always enjoyed doing, various things, right? So I've learned to just have fun with what I'm doing now and not focus on like winning or competing right now. My goal is, like I said, is to build a foundation and make sure my foundation is healthy no matter what. And even when offline comes back and, I come to my competitive side, my foundation will still be healthy. Now I have 2 responsibilities that I just got to keep in mind, right? Part of being an adult, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to look at it. You talked a little bit before we went live about you having some positive changes. Were those things that you wanted to talk about on here or not?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, my YouTube has been growing, and that's great. My community from the Twitch has been growing. It's really great. I've been learning a lot of skills as a person, just growing and just doing a lot of like skills that you could just, have at home. And it's one of the most fun things that I didn't imagine that I was going to have a lot of fun with. So honestly, I really can't complain about much.
What's your favorite skill that you've learned so far?
Cooking. Oh, cool.
So not just cooking your opponents now, but cooking some food, right?
I'm actually cooking good food. Yes, I actually.
Dishes that you've cooked up. What's been some of your favorites over quarantine?
So I've actually learned how to make cauliflower pizza, and I've been having like a fun learning how to like do
cauliflower crust.
Yeah, it's actually really cool, and that's been like one of the things that I've been learning how to cook, and outside of like just learning how to use like different techniques to like kind of like cheat, So that's been like a very, very fun experience, just making like, kind of like mashed potatoes with cauliflower and things like that and things, those type of skills. So it's been really, really fun. Yeah, it's been really, really fun. It's really hard at first because I'm one of those type of people that I'm like, man, I just hope I don't burn the house down, But once I do it the first time, then it becomes like free.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, I got it. Okay, that's it. We in there.
Oh, cool.
So that's one of the skills that I've been learning.
Good work. Well,
I mean,
please plug. Oh,
Well, I was just about to ask. You played Samurai Showdown, and were you planning to get into KOF 15 as well?
Yeah, actually, I used to play a lot of KOF in the Neo Geo days back in the back. So KOF has always naturally been one of my favorite games to play. So I'm 100% going to be playing KOF 15.
Okay.
I really hope they announce some cool things for me to get excited about. Like having rollback. I'd be really hyped to hear that. And as far as that, it's just like system mechanics. Give them like a general idea of how games are going to play, because it looks cool when you see the action happen, right? But like the editors just don't show us anything else,
right?
And every time like I'm done watching it, I'm like, wow, I'm really sad, and then I see shatter all expectations. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't expect a lot from coming in here, right? I feel like I've been shattered every time I'm waiting. I'm super hyped. I'm like, they did it good. Yeah, because they did it good. Because you know how they did like the news report, and it was like Terry.
Yeah.
I was super hyped for that. I was like, yo, that was really sick. And then they stopped doing that. And I was like,
they haven't done it again.
And then they went back to shattering all expectations again. I'm like, all right, bro, like y'all can't be doing it.
Also, just another random question. I remember at the launch event, you got second place to Justin in Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. Have you been keeping up with that game much?
Well, like I said, I can't. I keep up with all games because I naturally love like the games that I play. But as on the competitive side, I haven't really been keeping up to anything. To be honest with you, and that's just because like online. It's like not me, and as much as I try, it's not good. It's not good for me. So I'm waiting for when things open up and it's safe. Probably next year, middle of next year, whatever. However, the events take their time. I hope the events take their time to open up. I don't want them rushing. But take their time and make a quality event that is safe for everybody. And I'm literally mean everybody. And then we'll be able to play some Grand Blue again and Strive, and who else? Who knows whatever's going to be on the roster?
Go back to cooking the players instead. So
yeah, and then after I'm done cooking them. I'll make them some pizza.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to trying your pizza in the future, dude. That sounds really cool.
Oh, it's amazing. Trust me.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. Gonna cook the players and then give them a pizza your mind. All right, so there you go.
All right, dude. Thanks a lot for joining us. Let everybody know where they can see you stream: YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, etc.
Plug your stuff.
All right, so you guys can follow me on Twitter at Kizzie_K, KIZZIE _KAY. My Twitch is basically Kizzie Kay together, but with 310 at the end of it. And you go follow me on YouTube at YouTube/Kizzie Kay. And I stream 5 days a week. Sometimes I do weekends depending on like my schedule. I do have a tight schedule because like I said, we're always striving to hold forward, on a lot of goals and a lot of success that we're trying to create. I also stream five days a week, and then I upload on YouTube 5 days a week. So 5 days a week on YouTube, guaranteed. So it's Monday through Friday. We don't do weekends right now. And on Twitter, I keep updates on when I upload. Sometimes I talk about the daily things that just naturally happens to me. It's pretty random, but it's not chill. It's good vibes up there. So if you guys want to check me out, feel free to drop that love, hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button, and thank you guys for having me. Shout out to Overture David, James, and the person that I cooked up so many times. Thank you guys. Without YouTube, I wouldn't be here right now. So I really want to shout you out the most. Thank you, dude. I got the blessed emoji hands. Thank you. Thank you
for coming on. We appreciate it.
Nah, much love to you though, too, bro.
All right, dude.
Take care.
Peace.
Thanks a lot for hanging.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
There we go.
That was cool. Cauliflower pizza is good. That's awesome.
I've never had
low
that
carb,
before.
Low carb stuff, man.
Low carb, yeah.
Yeah. Never had that before. And I'm curious because I love wheat, right? I'm a big wheat person, so I wonder if I would be able to handle cauliflower pizza.
It tastes good.
Yeah, it does taste good. It's not exactly the same, but it's its own thing, and it tastes pretty good. You know what has a good one is go to Trader Joe's. They got a nice little frozen one for you there. It's just a few bucks. You know Trader Joe's.
Okay.
Good place. All right, cool. Well, thanks a lot again to him for joining us. So let's move on. As we got the 5-5 matchup coming up now. Aha! It's the topics. Number 1. Should fighting game ranked match points be tied to sets instead of single matches? Number 2, do you think Capcom should continue to focus only on one fighting game and support it long term, like Street Fighter V? Or should they try to diversify with their IPs and make more games with smaller life cycles, like rotating Rival Schools, Darkstalkers, etc.? 3, what is one thing you hope the FGC maintains from pre-COVID events? And what's one thing you hope the FGC leaves behind? Number 4, what do you think about status effects like Poison, Freeze, Retribution, Tarot, etc. in fighting games? Do you think it makes for interesting gameplay? Do you want to see more of it? Number 5, what do you think the fighting game landscape will look like in 10 years' time? How will the scene and technology advance from where we are now? Number 6, what are your expectations for Street Fighter 6? And number 7, would you like the Street Fighter game to be the next Street Fighter game to be a new Street Fighter or a new Street Fighter Alpha? All right, well, the winner is number 4. What do you think about status effects like Poison, Freeze, Retribution, etc. in fighting games? Do you think it makes for interesting gameplay, and do you want to see more of it? What do you got?
Sure, I like cool stuff in fighting games. So, yeah, I mean, I've played characters that do poison and things like that. I played some Hawkeye in my lifetime.
Right.
So yeah, I think that kind of stuff is cool. I think it adds depth to the game. I don't see why you wouldn't want that kind of stuff in your fighting game. I mean, even Street Fighter has poison and freeze and things like that now. So I think that stuff is cool for sure.
Dude, I think it really tells you like how Capcom was for a while, where you're like, even Street Fighter has yada yada.
What is bland?
No, you're right. Though.
I
it was
love
bland
Street
for a while.
Fighter, but Street Fighter's like the bland fighter. You know, that's like the basic fighter when you think of fighting games.
I mean, Street Fighter 4 and early and mid Street Fighter 5 might have
Super
been.
Turbo, 4, Third Strike, all of them.
Third Strike was not at all, and nor was Alpha. Get out of here.
That game is Alpha, maybe not bland. Third Strike is super bland. Get out.
Wow.
Okay. Anyways, my thoughts.
I don't like Third Strike. I've never made this a secret.
I know, but you can't say it's bland of everything. You can say you don't like it. That actually is okay with you. If you were to tell me you don't like Third Strike, okay, fine. I don't agree, obviously, fine. You can't tell me it's bland. Of all things, it's not bland.
I'd much rather watch Alpha 2 or Alpha 3 than Third Strike. Or
hey,
4,
it doesn't have to be your favorite. I'm just saying.
Or
fact,
5.
Fact. Third Strike is not bland.
Sure.
All right.
Whatever you say.
Anyways,
right.
I mean, obviously, I just think it's a game-to-game basis, right? I mean, doesn't Granblue have some stuff? I know Persona has a lot of status effects. Guilty Gear Strive is adding some stuff where, you know, Kai can electrify you so that certain moves do more damage or something like that. Now, there's like some shock state or something.
Shock state.
What is it?
Shock state.
Yeah, shock state. And so, like, I really feel like it's just dependent on the game. Street Fighter V Season 1, as bland as it was, had, you know, poison from Fang. You know, it's just, I'm down with anything. Like, I'm down if they make this crazy, complex, system-wide mechanic. I'm down if they made it so that only 3 out of 20 characters have some sort of status effect. It's just whatever makes the game fun. Just let's do it. You know,
do the fun shit.
Yeah, exactly.
You know me, I like the weird stuff. I want the weird stuff in fighting games. So status effects are things that I get excited about. Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
that was a big part of why I played Fang early on in Street Fighter V, for example.
Yeah, Tager magnetism, right? I mean, get him into the
100%.
magnetic state, basically. So
That's true. Yeah, you could consider it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's certainly something that I really like. And just in general, like, I like the weird stuff, man. It's no secret, like, why I like things like Killer Instinct so much. I want the weird stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I like Justice and Injustice too. They have weird character options. That's what I like. So, yes, I would love to see more of status effect type stuff. games have exported pretty well, I would say. Like, just thinking back, like Persona, that was a pretty big part of the system. You guys talked about some other examples. Like, there have been games that have exported pretty well already,
Right.
but
The
yeah,
trickiest
of course, I'd love to see more.
the trickiest part about it is that the one thing that I don't want to see, for example, is let's say you have a fighting game with a bunch of elemental characters, and the fire status hurts the ice dude more than it hurts other characters. Stuff like that. You have to be careful on, because that just affects the matchups. And
What if Fire Dude was the zoner and Water Dude was the grappler? An inherently uneven match for the grappler, but the grappler could douse the fire guy in a way that was matchup specific. That actually could be really cool.
Yeah, that actually would be kind of neat if they figured out ways to make it for the inherently bad matchups. Yeah, that might actually... I mean, like I said, if they can figure it out, more power to them, right? So make it a way that it makes sense.
Pokemon fighting game.
A Pokemon fighting game? Well, first of all, one exists, but
I know that. That's what I'm saying. It sounds like a Pokemon fighting game to me.
But it would be really cool if they leaned harder into that. I mean, Pokken does have some stuff that's really unique and interesting. But to have one where it was like real obvious, like this Pokemon beats the other Pokemon, except for like other gameplay options, that would be interesting, I think.
Yeah, because I mean, I've never wanted to see a fighting game where just when Zangief fights Guile, he gets a Sonic Boom to at least fight it and make the match even. But if it's something kind of lore-based, like it's a fire elemental guy against, a water elemental person, and the water elemental person could put out the fire, and there was something to that effect, maybe I might actually be down with it,
Like the fire guy is the zoner, and the water guy is the grappler, like I said, and maybe the fire is the far attacks. So if you put his fire out, he can't do his far zonery attacks anymore.
Exactly.
But you got to get close to apply the water in the first place. Anyway, this sounds like a genius idea. I hope somebody does it.
Avatar the fighting game. Let's go.
What?
I was thinking like Mega Man bosses. The fighting game.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah.
But anyways,
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything else to say on what do you think about status effects in fighting games?
Just do
We're
it.
all
dude.
into it.
Do it.
We're into it. All right, let's move on to the next one. Number 2 actually got second place, so let's talk about number 2. Do you think Capcom should continue to focus only on one fighting game and support it long-term like SF5, or should they try to diversify with their IPs and make more games with smaller life cycles like rotating rival schools, Darkstalkers, etc.?
well, what they should do and what I want them to do are two different things.
Of course.
I
What
want
do you
them
think
to
they should
make
do?
a new Marvel, and I want them to make a new Darkstalkers, and I want them to, et cetera, et cetera. What do I think they should do? I think they should take some of that Monster Hunter and Devil May Cry money and invest it in their fighting game division and make 2 or 3 games at the same time.
Would you really want to see 3 games at the same time?
Maybe if they're good, yeah. If they're awesome, if there's like Street Fighter 6 or maybe like a new Street Fighter Alpha comes out, followed by a new Marvel, which I know won't happen. It's just an example.
Yeah.
Followed by like a Rival Schools or a Darkstalkers. That if they're all 3 good, that would be so sick. And if they supported all 3 of them and they didn't have like a favorite and they treated them all as equals, and this is like a perfect world, obviously, that would be super dope. I mean, but I don't think they will. I think they are just going to make Street Fighter 6 and focus primarily on just the one fighting game title, which is depressing for me because I would love to see what they could do with their other IPs.
I mean, I was just about to say, theoretically, Bandai Namco has 3, right? They have 3 right now,
I suppose,
Tekken, Soul Calibur, and Dragon Ball Fighters. So absolutely it's possible. Like I said, in the past, maybe even just a year ago, I wouldn't have wanted it just because I wouldn't have trusted Capcom necessarily,
But now,
But, with the way Street Fighter 5 is going right now, I mean, like, you see Rose come out and they just gave her all this crap, and you're like, my God, this character's gotta be busted. And, people are saying that she's pretty mid-tier, high-tier right now. Obviously not broken or anything like that. Like, seems like they're doing a really good job. And, she's super interesting. Akira looks like she's going to be super interesting. Oro, even just from a design standpoint, making him hold the turtle is just like interesting. Like, I would actually trust them to make some other fighting games because, there was the period of time where Street Fighter 4 was really good, Marvel came out, was really good, and then Cross Tekken happened, right? And then, that was obviously, whether you like the game or not, it failed, it bombed, right? It just didn't do well for multiple reasons. And, they bit off a little more than they can chew. Now, do I think it was a mistake because Street Fighter Cross Tekken was still very Street Fighter and 4 existed? Yeah, that was probably more of a problem than anything. And so if they did do a thing where it was literally Street Fighter, then Darkstalkers, which is their anime game style thing where just things are going crazy, and then Rival Schools came out and that became like some crazy tag team shenanigan game, and they were all three very different games in spirit. Yeah, I think we have something there, basically.
What I just want to avoid is a situation where it's a new game regularly and they just don't support it for very long. So it would be cool with me if there were multiple games that they came out with. Yeah, you bring up an example. And in the chat, folks are talking about that Bandai even does the development on Smash. So like they have multiple games, even 4 games, I guess, in a way. They publish DBFZ. So yeah, I would be okay with that. There have been stretches where Capcom's done that well. I just, look, as much as I love NRS's games, I really didn't like the fact that they would come out with the game and it would be there for 2 years and then we'd move on to the next one. I wanted long-term support. I hope that's what we're getting in MK11 now. Right? There hasn't been an announcement of a new game, so they're already like beyond the schedule from previous times. True, but yeah, I mean that's what I hope anyway. I want this to be long-term support. So that's it. Other than that, like I don't have a strong reference here.
Yeah, I mean I think the problem was that every time NRS came out with a new game, they just stopped supporting the other games.
Well, I mean certainly like the scene could have kept playing MK or could have kept playing Injustice. Some people did. Like those games are still actually, they still have pretty significant scenes. You can go back to MK9 and Injustice 1, there's still people playing those games online. So, it kind of did, but the scene in general, the competitive scene anyway, definitely moved on. That's just what I want to avoid. Like, it would be a bummer, even if it was a series that I didn't really care about. I don't have any history with Rival Schools. Not a game that I've played. If that game comes out, it would be a bummer, even if I wasn't playing it, for Rival Schools fans, if it was the game that was supported for just a couple of years. Like, the phrasing of this is, should they try to diversify with their IPs and make more games with smaller life cycles? Yeah, I wouldn't want the smaller life cycles, right? Like I would want each game to be supported well, for the scenes to enjoy it, and for them to do as good as they can, and for the games to be supported and survive for a while. I mean, right now, some fighting games are, what would you say, half a dozen-ish years is about where they max out. Maybe Tekken's a little bit older than that at this point, but like there's not, typically isn't that much more than that, but that's fine. It's better than just a couple years. Or I mean, in the case of Injustice 2, the scene kind of was moving away from it at like 1.5 years even, which I was really disappointed about. So that's something I don't want to see. But yes, I'm cool with Capcom and any other developer making multiple games at one time if the games are good.
Right, and if they try to support them for a long time. I agree with you.
Yeah, that's my caveat too.
Yeah,
we need to support.
Like
I said, they have to treat them all equally.
Right.
Yeah.
Give them all, a nice length of support.
I mean,
like it's not really the case that Bandai's doing that, right? Like, Tekken's definitely the favorite child.
Yeah,
when it comes to Tekken or Calibur.
We don't have any idea if there's going to be a season 3 in Soul Calibur still. You know what I mean? We're kind of suffering over here.
Yeah. So I mean, anyway.
Yeah, the caveat in the question about having side games with shorter life cycles, I mean, I just think it would just depend on the player base. If the players keep playing it, just keep developing content for it, why not? And that's the thing. So just make a good game, give it good rollback netcode, and see how well it thrives. Support it and do your best. Now, it's gonna vary from game to game, like you said, but still,
Yeah.
let's go for it.
All right. Anything else to say on this one?
Nope.
We move on. Let's go to community stuff. Ooh, do you see what we're talking about there on the top? Combo Breaker Look Alive. Never heard of it? It's a tournament that happens up in the Chicago area where you have been occasionally.
I've been to
You've been to
one.
every single one. Yeah. So the announcement came out today that they're doing an event called Look Alive, powered by Astro Gaming. And this is, the tweet says, a 2-day showcase, special produced in collaboration with many of the online organizers and content creators who kept us together during the global pandemic. James, while I talk about this, can you put that amazing art onto the internet here? Wow.
Oh, do you have it in the link?
The internet. I think it's already on the internet.
It's absolutely on the internet, and hopefully soon it will be on our internet too.
Do you have
on
a
our
link to
World
it
Wide Web.
directly?
Yeah, it's right there.
Oh, there it is.
So literally right
there.
there.
Okay.
So there's not a ton more information about this. You can go to combobreaker.org. They have a little bit more info. It's in collaboration with, like it says, a lot of the people who have been keeping the scene going. So like Next Level Battle Circuit, Wednesday Night Fights, Online Local, the House of Chaos, Jazzy Circuit. There's a ton of names in there, and I'm definitely not going to be able to get to all of them because honestly, it's a ton of different stuff. It's people who are doing basically every game genre, every individual game even, and it's super, super cool. I love the idea of that.
There's so many groups in here.
There's honestly so many groups in there. And then a little bit more info came from Rick, who of course runs Combo Breaker. And what he said in a tweet is, we're matching up money matches, documentaries, scratch routines, combo vids, skits, interviews, merch drops, live event announcements, and more to show love for everyone's efforts these past 2 years and start tuning up for the years ahead. So there's a lot of cool stuff there. That sounds pretty interesting, right?
I mean,
Yeah. Nope.
Rick always comes up with the really, really interesting, innovative, creative stuff. So I'm eager for this to see how this is going to go and such. I mean, he even just put out a tweet a while ago, like, what are your favorite combo videos? So, I guess he'll have a combo video showcase there as well.
Yeah, I think Maj is actually listed on the poster.
He should be, because he's made some of the
maybe
greatest...
we'll get a new Maj combo video. That'd be sick.
Well, I mean, the question, the way it was asked, sounded like it's going to be older combo videos that, we've seen before. But I don't know. If he makes a new thing, that'd be awesome. But combo videos are not easy to make, man.
Okay. Super cool art right there. So this is the weekend of May 29th and 30th is the weekend. So please look forward to that. Memorial Day weekend, as per usual. Yeah, it'll be streamed on Team Spooky.
Okay.
Also, Discord. Have you heard about this? Have you heard about Discord? It's a big program.
Heard about it.
I hear about it right now through my ears as you're talking to me through Discord. They had talked about getting bought by Microsoft, right? There was a news article about that, and that didn't end up happening. But they're now with Sony. So Sony gets a minority investment in Discord, and integration will start next year. They had a little blog post on it. Not a ton of info, so it's not, you can't really say exactly what this is going to entail, but presumably chatting and stuff you could probably do on PlayStation in the future. So what they said, pretty short, is our goal is to, including this, our goal is to bring the Discord and PlayStation experiences closer together on console and mobile starting early next year, allowing friends, groups, and communities to hang out, have fun, and communicate more easily while playing games together.
Yeah, I imagine that after Fortnite was a big success for crossplay for Sony, that they're probably looking into other ways to make crossplay work. And what better way than taking the biggest gamer, chat platform, partnering with them, allowing you to tag your PSN ID to your Discord ID, and now you can talk between PlayStation and PC. That's what I imagine they're going for. And I'm just using my own intuition. I'm assuming that maybe the Microsoft deal didn't go through because Microsoft wanted to buy out Discord.
Right.
They just wanted to absorb it. Maybe
Right.
Sony was like, we'll give you some money. You guys still do what you're doing. Here's some money and let's work together rather than a complete buyout. Maybe the Discord guys like that better, you know?
That makes sense. It's almost a little bit like how what Sony has part of Evo now, right? Like they're the stated stuff anyway is not that they're going to be like taking over. It's only Sony games now. It's just that they have a hand in it, and that's cool. I'm down. And what I'm most hoping for is that each game will just like have a link to a Discord in it. Because right now, as we've often talked about, it is sometimes a mystery as to like whether there's a Discord for a certain game or how to get involved. And if you just were to go to a game and there's a little like sidebar in it where it's like, here's the Mortal Kombat Discord, that would be great. If you could just have a way to get in directly, I feel like that would do a better job at bringing people into the community. My goal, obviously, and our goal is like some of those hopefully will be competitive players. Maybe we get a bigger FGC out of it.
Yeah,
I just want to say I hope that's not a requirement of every game moving forward from Sony.
Because, to have Discord integration?
Yeah, well, because some games like you don't need a community for, and two, just imagine being an indie dev trying to hire someone to watch your Discord and mod your Discord for you when you know your game sells 500,000 copies all of a sudden, and now you need like mods for your Discord. You need community managers. You're creating all these jobs they can't afford to pay for. Yeah. So I really hope that's not a requirement, but an option they can have.
Yeah, I mean, if they can do that, and like Capcom has a Street Fighter V Discord, and then you know it has like just channels for each of the characters automatically, but then people can post, oh, well, there's actually a fan generated Rose specific Discord here that you can check out. I think that would be cool. So important. I think that would be super important to help people because fighting games are not doing a good job teaching people how to play fighting games. But if at least you hook them up with the people who can teach you how to play fighting games, I think that's really, really important. The scary part, though, is that now everybody's going to be trying to jump into that Street Fighter thing and be like, check out my thing, check out my thing, check out my thing. You know what I mean? Like, it might be, it might get a little crazy.
Well, that's why I say you need modders. You need to hire people
to
watch over that stuff 24/7.
Right. Yeah, because if it's just the PlayStation community, some people are talkative on PlayStation, right? But they're almost all jerks. Right, like all the people, of the messages that you've gotten on like random PlayStation, most of them are jerkery, right? Like, so if it's easier for those people to just like directly talk with you on your Discord. For many of us, Discord is like a major communication platform now. I wouldn't necessarily want for like Joe Schmo who just did the fatality after teabagging me to be like, haha, I have your Discord as well. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, Sony does a really good job on their privacy options with your,
that's true.
Your PSN ID. So I would imagine they would probably have that set so you don't have to share.
All right, cool. Looking forward to that. We'll find out more news about that next year. Also, I just wanted to reiterate that TopTier is a cool website that you should look at. They put a tweet out today to just sort of remind folks they have a little bit new feature. So what they do, among other things, they have news and articles on there, but also they post online and local fighting game tournaments. That's something that they've been curating now for a while, a couple of years. Mm-hmm. But now they have the ability for people to go on there and make their own. So you can create an account there, and if you have a local, which is something, you know, at least some parts of the world we can begin getting back to pretty soon, or just online, then you can go there, make it. People can search by game, they can search by location, and pretty good functionality in there. So if you're looking for a tournament to play in, or if you have one and you want to advertise it, that's a good spot.
TopTier.gg. Yeah. So I guess I guess we can probably talk about this a little bit later on. But, you know, just like, for example, if we wanted to put down that we're going to try to run the Shoryuken scrimmage again this Friday, we could try to announce it on TopTier.gg. So, but that is something
pretty good idea.
Yeah, so that is something that we're going to try to do this Friday, so I just have to sit down and get everything all set up for that. But
hey, James, can you set up the Smash EG for you can scrimmage?
God, I wish it was that easy. I wish I could just be like, but Smash.gg does not let you do that. So,
well, let's move on to the next little thing here. Battle Arena Melbourne announced for July
Right.
9th through 11th. Bam. Yeah. Now in Australia, they've been doing a killer job at beating COVID this whole time. They have concerts down there. They've been having locals. They're living their lives. So congrats to everybody involved in that. For July 9th and 11th, they'll have a fighting game tournament, a major coming back. Very cool.
Isn't it weird that it's actually turning out that California is doing the best, like in COVID,
Yes.
right? I mean, knock on wood and everything, but that just blows my mind, to be honest with you.
Hey,
Yeah.
59% of people in Minnesota have at least one shot.
Oh, that's great.
That's good.
Really good to hear. Yeah, I mean, we're working on it. And then the last bit of community news is, y'all remember that esports certification thing from last week?
Sure
We talked
do.
all about that.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't just us talking about it. It was basically the entire esports internet that was talking about it. And like everybody was like, this is not a good idea.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And some people did that in less jerky ways. We had a pretty reasonable discussion about it, for example.
Yep.
But also, there are people who were major jerk faces about it, maximally. Death threats and all sorts of wild
Oh,
stuff.
Jesus. Oh, God.
So,
Definitely not with death threats, guys.
not at all. Not at all. Absurd. But that did happen. Anyway, they're not doing it the same way anymore. So they basically retracted the esports certification test that they were doing. They said anybody who's given them money already gets their money back. They basically just pulled back entirely, and like my understanding is may still continue to like think about how to approach this, but that if they do, it's going to be something quite different than the test. And I don't know if anything's going to happen on that front. I don't know how they're going to end up doing it if they do it, but the stuff that they had announced, not happening.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that I'm happy to announce that I did get my FGC esports certification from Dr. Majin Obama. I'm 100% FGC
Oh, gosh.
esports certified.
Yeah, I mean, again, the whole thing for me just comes down to we have the ability to create esports from the ground up. Let's stop mimicking things that were obviously, could have been put down in good faith but turned into bad faith. And I know, again, people who put together the esports cert weren't trying to do this in bad faith, but let's just evaluate things carefully and let's do things our own way. Let's establish our own stuff. Let's not call ourselves esports. Let's do things that are actually good for our own selves and not piggybacking off of everything else.
It's like part of the stated goal was let's make it so that esports has a better hiring path and doesn't end up just hiring jerks who have friends in the scene and are the same, just like white dudes, etc., that the esports scene is so full of over and over again. And that while that's a goal that I think we all think is important, right? Diversity and inclusion is important. Hiring's part of that, but also like there's so many dudes in esports who just are that right now, and you can just get rid of them. Like you don't have to have Thorn at everything, right? Like you just dump these, like they're there, just get rid of them.
And then the other problem too, honestly, is that an esports certification would honestly exacerbate that problem. It just would, like just by nature of it, it would probably make it worse in the end. So,
I mean, I agree with you. We talked about that last time. Yeah. All right, that's it for this.
Okay,
cool. Moving on.
Move on to the next one. There's only a little bit of game news to talk about.
Game news.
The most important, probably, King of Fighters, Chris.
Yeah.
Chris is in the video game.
He's there.
A character who I learned about while seeing the trailer.
I mean, like I said, one of the reasons for that is because Chris hasn't really been in a mainline game since 97. They were only in Dream Match 98 and 2002 because KOF is usually pretty good about adhering to character deaths and having them not showing up, and character story arcs. Like Daimon wasn't in one of the years because he was having a kid and he took the year off to raise the baby. So he just didn't show up.
Sure.
Okay.
But a lot of people super happy to see him. Obviously, we knew he was coming because they already hinted at CYS and everything. Shermie and Yashiro were already shown, so clearly this is their, Chris was going to show up. They didn't really have any hints on any sort of Orochi powers because Chris was the one that kind of got possessed and went crazy and such. But a lot of people are happy to see him in there because CYS team was really, really popular with a lot of people. So
I believe you mean Team Orochi with Shermie and the other guy, Yashiro.
They're called Team Orochi. Their logo actually just says CYS. So,
Well, that's all
Take
I have
that,
to
David.
contribute that. He looks fine. He looks pretty speedy.
Graphically, again, I think that you can tell these characters that are brand new to the game, not from 14. I think they look really good. Shermie, Yashiro, and Chris all look really, really nicely done. Better than a lot of the returning characters and such. So I'm impressed with it. I like the way it looks.
All right, they just announced the new trailer, not the new trailer, the new teaser.
Yeah.
Right for KOF.
This
they
is
always
a
show
weird
a teaser
one.
on Tuesdays, and then there's here's the trailer the next day.
Yeah, this is a weird one. I have no idea what the heck this could possibly be.
It's 2 people, right?
Yeah, and it says the next fighter. Not fighters, the next fighter. And,
they also used the phrase beat by to signify win streaks back in the day, so I don't know. Is next fighter relevant?
It's so weird, but could this potentially be a brand new character? Again, I'm gonna have to consult with SNK expert, Olaf, and see what his opinions on there are for this. But it's.
Do you have that on the stream right now?
I just put it up and took it down.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I couldn't see.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. Oh, that's right, because I was moving things to the other screen. You're right.
Yeah. It's all good. Just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll see what that is, I guess, tomorrow. Also, Project L, big news. We had talked about Project L because there were many rumors floating around. Well, definitively, Tom Cannon, who's developing the video game, says, "Glad you're hyped for Project L. The game is on track with many more core systems in place, but we still have a ways to go. Please do not expect a beta, public or private, anytime soon, and definitely not this year. We're planning a dev update for around the end of this year to share more about the game. Until then, sit tight." So basically blowing up 100% of these rumors.
Yeah.
Right? And including the rumor that people are going to go play it.
Yeah.
I guess not even privately do they have a beta going. So there you go.
The longer they take, the less interested I am. I'm going to be retired by the time this game comes out.
This game's definitely on the Half-Life 3
Yeah,
trajectory.
dude, it's taken forever, and I just... Whatever at this point, man. But by the time the game comes out, Riot lets grassroots tournaments happen, and then Riot comes in and shuts it all down and takes over everything the people built. I'll be 40. I'll be done with fighting games.
Ugh, 40? There's no way you're going to be playing fighting games at 40. Who would do that?
There's not. I'm 33. That's 7 more years. I'm not doing it. I'm done.
Oh, dude, let me tell you.
I got 3 or 4 more years, and I'm out, dude.
When you're 40, you'll think back on the time when you were 33 and be like, yesterday I went to a party. It will absolutely feel like it was literally yesterday or the day before. Anyway, James is gone. You have put him in the ground finally. But look, I kind of agree. I feel like I'm living my life without thinking about Project L. Yes, I'm excited for it. I was excited for it last week because I thought that there was news. But now that I know that there's not news, it's at some point the big one's going to hit Los Angeles. But I can't live all of my days being when's the big one going to happen? I have to just live my life, and at some point it's going to happen, okay. But I don't have any control over that, and I'll deal with that when it comes. And that's kind of how I feel about Project L right now. Yep. It'll be cool when it comes. Hopefully the opposite, to be clear, of how cool the big one will be, which will be negatively cool. Hopefully Project L is cool. But until that happens, yeah, I'm just kind of, whatever. There's a lot of fun stuff to play and talk about right now.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's that Miyamoto quote, right? That I quoted to Tom on Twitter, Delayed a bad, a game that you release now is bad forever, and then a delayed game can be, will eventually be good. Now,
you can't get fooled again.
Yeah, basically at this point in time, of course, with patches and stuff, you could make things better, but, Street Fighter V is in a wonderful condition. But man, can you imagine what would have happened if that game came out like it is now? I mean, obviously not with the full roster and everything, but with that kind of care. Or even something like No Man's Sky. Is that what the game is called? I think No Man's Sky, when it came out, it just it had so much negative press to it. If it came out, obviously they probably couldn't have updated it because they wouldn't have had the budget without releasing it at some point in time. But if these games came out, what's that?
They needed the capital, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's one of the tricky things. But, the initial launch will always be a stain on these games. Street Fighter V, I mean, after the first season, like, I still feel like a lot of people who complain about Street Fighter V today are largely banking off of the stuff that they complained about in Season 1. Every character plays the same. It's like... it's not really true anymore. So that's how damaging those initial impressions can be.
Agreed.
All right.
Go through the sales.
Lastly, yeah, there's just a bunch of sales going on. I'm not going to read the entire list because there's like 1,000 of them. But
list. All 1,000.
But for both Steam and the PlayStation number 4, there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of sales going on right now. For fighting games, including other stuff. All right, buddy. BBCF, BB Tag, Dissidia, Dragon Ball Fighters, Garo, Guilty Gear, Xrd Rev 2, JoJo's, Kill la Kill, King of Fighters 14, Marvel vs. Capcom
you said
Infinite.
that with so much disdain. Kill la Kill.
No, I didn't mean to say bad. I'm just surprised. But anyway, that's cool. Override 2 Super Mech League Ultraman Deluxe Edition, Samurai Showdown Deluxe Edition, SNK Heroines, Soul Calibur 6, Tekken 7, Under Night, and then, that was for PlayStation actually. And then Steam, Arcana Heart, BB Tag, DBFZ, Fighting EX Slayer, Garo, Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2, Kill la Kill, KOF 98, Ultimate Match, King of Fighters 13, KOF 2002 Unlimited Match, Marvel Infinite, Melty Blood. God, I'm only in the M's. All right. Seriously. So many games.
There's a lot. It's better.
There's so many games.
Hey,
just check it out.
Mighty Sandwich says that the next Skullgirls DLC character will be shown on the 6th, which is a couple of days.
Cool. Didn't know that. That's awesome.
Pretty sweet. All right, let's just briefly blitz through tournament results. Hey, you know what? There was the second Capcom Pro Tour for the Caribbean West is the one that it was for, and it was won by MJ Gama out of Mexico, and he won it primarily using Cammy, which means that we have had 2 CPT events so far, and they have been won by Gama with Cammy and Mago with Cammy. So shout outs to Cammy White.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing about it is, does that mean that Cammy is too strong? Or does that mean that players with, M-A-G and then another vowel in their name is too strong, right? I mean, that is definitely a possibility as well, so.
I don't think either is true. I think Cammy's fine and everybody's whining, complaining.
First of all, how would you know unless you've been playing Street Fighter V like every day? Your favorite game.
I've actually been playing Cammy. I'm learning her. Top tier, baby. Let's go all the way. Yeah, I started playing her like yesterday.
Oh, no wonder you say you don't think that she's broken. I see how this is.
No. I do think she's probably the best. But just because you're the best doesn't mean you're broken.
She's not broken. Yeah, she is obviously one of the strongest.
And she's basically the same since season 1. If you don't know how to fight Cammy now, Jesus. Come on, man. That's on you. You're losing.
They did give her buffs, though. Every time they nerf her or whatever, they do give her buffs, too.
Yeah, I know.
Definitely good.
Her buffs weren't super significant this time, though. So, I mean, one was to try to make V-Trigger 2 better, which still nobody is using. A couple of them were that one. The main one was honestly the counter hit towards Heavy Kick, but...
Yeah, Knee Bullet. Knee Bullet's the one.
Yeah, but that's
Mortal Kombat Pro Competition, North America number 7... happened. The East was won by Hayate. The West was won by Wise Gemini. This is the second to last week before the finals week. So it was the second to last chance to get points to make it into the finals. And that means the next one's going to be the last chance. And there are folks that are outside of it, like Sonic Fox and Dragon and Ninja Killer. So if they want to get in, they have one more chance. And each one of them is definitely good enough to just show up and win. Be like, all right, I'm in. So I wouldn't put that past any of them. But if they all three entered, that would actually be super sick. So that's what I'm rooting for.
Yeah. Also, this past weekend was the Deus Ex Kylo 2, which I was able to help part of. Soul Calibur tournament run by Saban Deus. First one was run and managed to get $3,400 in Matcherino donations. This one ran and got over $4,000 in Matcherino prize money, so that was really, really cool. Excellent tournament. Like most of the best Soul Calibur players in the North America region entered and play. Was won by Nowo using Seongmina, and I would like to point out that the last big Soul Calibur event I commentated was the NLBC Year 1 anniversary, in which Nowo won that tournament. So I think I'm his lucky charm. So I think I deserve a cut of his prize pool that he got from Deus Ex Kylo. I think that is a good idea. I think that's
you gave
logical.
him the bump, the Jay Chenzor bump.
No, honestly, it was really, really good. He defeated Zephykai in Grand Final. Zephykai, largely considered one of the best in the United States right now. Just really, really, and again, just showing how good of a state the game is in, just balance-wise and stuff. It was run all on Parsec, so Parsec community doing cool things for Soul Calibur.
Very good work. In the
play
Smash
Soul,
World Tour.
Play Soul Calibur. It's a good game. Play it.
It is a good game. Everybody thinks it's a good game. Smash World Tour NA Southwest Online qualifier was won by Send with Ness and Steve. Also, Hi-Fi says that Japanese players say that Cammy got buffed because they moved to PC, which allowed them to hit confirm crouching medium kick better. Which is an interesting take. So whenever we eventually go back to offline play, that's still going to be PS4. Like, it's not going to be the case that we're going to be playing PC offline in tournaments because it's just a hassle. So she's going to get nerfed eventually. Heads up, everybody. All right, that's it. That's all I got.
That's such an interesting take
Mailbag.
on that.
Mailbag.
Huh.
Wait, what are you saying, James?
No, I was just saying that's such an interesting take, the ability to confirm off of crouching medium kick, single hit confirm with her more consistently. That's actually, that can make a big difference for her for sure.
Showbiz says the game has been on PC since 2016. That's true. In 2016, every version of the game had bizarre input lag, so they fixed that at some point. And I think the Japanese scene just wasn't playing on PC. I was playing on PC the whole time.
I was going to say most people were playing on PS4 back then.
Yeah.
And also, if you're a competitive player, you play on whatever the tournaments play on.
Exactly, yeah. So in this year, when there are no tournaments offline, a lot of people switch to PC.
Yep.
All right, let's get to that there mailbag. Number 1, Fighting Feng Wong on Twitter asks, if you could pick one movie and change the cast to Muppets except one human actor, which movie would it be, and who would be the one human actor? Wow.
Oh, man. Look, all right. Since nobody else seems to have an answer, there was this old Oscar bait movie that came out a long time ago called Cold Mountain that had Jude Law, Nicole Kidman, and Renee Zellweger in it. And there was a lot of famous cameos in it. And the thing that always made it really, really funny to me was that, when you watch the Muppet movies, whenever a famous cameo shows on, it shows the person from behind and then they turn around and you're like, oh my gosh, it's Tim Conway, kind of thing like that, right? So they kept doing that in that movie called Cold Mountain, and I always wanted them to make a movie called Cold Muppet, in which Miss Piggy plays both the Renee Zellweger character and the Nicole Kidman character. So literally, when the scene they're talking to each other, she would just walk back and forth and like communicate with each herself and do the prim, Miss Piggy voice for Nicole Kidman, and then the gruff one for the Renee Zellweger character and stuff like that. So that's my answer.
You've thought about this before this question?
Yeah, I'm amazed right now.
What? What? Talk about like
right now.
specific, absolutely most specific situation I've ever heard somebody have a ready answer for.
Yeah,
That is incredible.
And nobody even remembers this movie existed either. And
Never heard of it.
You have no reason to ever know that this movie existed, because it was not a good movie, despite being a Oscar bait.
Well, I've never heard the term Oscar bait either, but I think I understand what it means. My answer to this is that I would have Star Wars be played entirely by Muppets, except the one actor in it would be Casmer. And this is my choice because he thinks Star Wars is terrible, and I just would relish the idea of seeing him struggle through his lines playing. In fact, specifically, it has to be episode 2, and he's playing Anakin, and he has the conversation with Muppet Padme as they're rolling around in the grass. That would be actually the best.
I would actually agree with all that, except I'd want Casmer to play Yoda, because then that would completely shift the Muppet and human ratio, basically. So, he would have to play Yoda, and he would have to ride the back of Muppet Luke Skywalker, basically.
I'd like to see Die Hard.
Die Hard.
That would be cool.
I would like to see Die Hard. Yeah.
Okay, but which one's the human?
Just Bruce Willis.
Okay.
Murdering
I just want to see the puppet. I just want to see this. What was that you said? Oh, that's right. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Yeah, it would be so good. It would be so good.
All right, I like that one. All right, on Twitter as well, Osohe Ghosts asks, who do you think the real identity of Joe Biden, the Guilty Gear chip player, is? I don't have any insight on this, but do you guys?
What?
I did not run into Joe Biden, the Guilty Gear chip player.
The only thing I've heard about this situation is that there's some mystery person who's been entering tournaments online and doing really well, named Joe Biden, and they played chip. That's all I know. I don't have any other information.
I mean, wasn't there also the mysterious Ryu player in that one Wednesday Night Fights? That one time?
Oh, you mean Vi or John Choi? One of those.
Yeah.
It wasn't Vi. It wasn't Vi, but it
might have been John Choi.
It might have been John Choi, yeah. But I mean, wouldn't that be crazy if John Choi just entered a random ass Street Fighter V tournament and won?
Not at all.
That'd be crazy, dude.
I can totally see that happening. Yeah, why are we assuming it's not the real Joe Biden?
Listen, Jack. Joe Biden doesn't have time for that, all right? His first 100 days in office, you know what he did? He did a lot, okay? I can't name any of it, but he did a lot.
That's like, okay.
No, but seriously, like, we do have vaccines, so that's kind of dope.
That's true. They did. That is a good thing.
I'm more interested in Lil Bussy Man than Joe Biden, the chip player.
James continues to have no idea what this is about.
I'm gonna bust Lil Pussy Man's ass in Guilty Gear Strive when it comes out.
You will try. You will try.
All the way in Japan.
Listen here, Jack. He's got a lot of good Bidenisms. There's a lot of silly stuff out there. Fat Cat on Twitter asks, which of these would you prefer to deal with? Taking a headbutt from Mario or getting slapped across the face from Donkey Kong? I would absolutely take the headbutt. I don't think Mario is going to be nearly as devastating as getting slapped by Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong's a huge gorilla. Mario is a small human.
Bro, Mario puts his hand in the air.
Exactly.
Jumps on his head, crashes into bricks.
Yeah.
And the bricks break.
Yeah.
Mario's never died from this. He does it repeatedly.
But that's his hand.
Yeah, he's not actually headbutting. It's
His
actually
hand first. but then it goes donk.
Actually has never hit it with his head. He's always been,
that's what I'm saying. It's been
Right.
with his hand.
It's always been his hand. He's always supposed to be
man.
hitting things with his hand.
I don't
The
think he's
laws
got
of
a
physics
strong
say
dome.
otherwise.
I don't think so.
Hmm.
I see. What I think happens is that he punches through them, and then they don't fall on his head. He punches them, and they go. They're out of here. They're on the other plane that's next to him in their 2D world. It's no longer on his plane. So I think his headbutting abilities I wouldn't respect. I would absolutely rather take that than the Donkey Kong slap.
Yep.
I mean, you're slapped by a gorilla, so I'm with you.
Yeah, that would be the worst. Subatar on YouTube asks, "What's your funniest story of personal injury?" Wow.
None. I don't think any of that shit was funny.
No.
That hurt.
Okay. What one hurt the most? But tell it like it was a funny story.
I was at a buddy's. I was in a buddy's bachelor party. I was standing up in his wedding, and he had a stretch Hummer. And we had all been drinking. Of course, we get out. We're going to the casino. The stretch Hummer had like 3 steps, and then you touch the ground. I walked down these 3 steps completely normally. As soon as my foot hit the ground, my back was thrown out. So my answer was, I'm not going to bail on the bachelor party. This is the first time I ever had back pain in my life, by the way. Like, that was the moment my back decided, fuck it. So I was like, well, I'm not going to bail on the bachelor party. I'm going to rally through. So I got wasted. Dumb wasted. And then I woke up the next morning screaming in pain. Like, my yells of pain woke me because I couldn't move. I woke up in like a chair. I had no idea what happened the night before. And my back hurt so bad that if I moved any muscle whatsoever, I was in excruciating pain. That's my funny story of self-injury.
That sounds hilarious.
It was terrible. It was the worst.
It sounds like probably everybody was cracking up.
Yeah, I don't think so.
This guy. Oh, yeah. Tupperware, he's always a kidder with his horrible screams and yelps. Come on.
Yeah, that's it.
Sounds like a blast. For me, the answer is hard to pick, not because there were too few, but because, boy, there's been a lot. I think I'm going to go with number 1, which just the only reason I'm doing it is because you made me think about it. It was when I was playing football in the field in middle school, and it was lunchtime. My buddies and I always played football in lunchtime. I really enjoyed it. And I was playing defense at the time, and dude threw the ball, and I went up to try to intercept it. I was covering my friend who had jumped up as well. And when I landed, my foot landed in one of the many, many gopher holes that were all over the place.
You told the story.
Field.
Yeah, you told the story.
And it was probably broken. But then my friend who I was covering, who was way bigger than the rest of us, he was probably like 5'10" in 8th grade or something. Like, he was a really big guy.
A monster.
He was a huge dude. He didn't end up being huge. It was just he got his growth spurt really early. And anyway, his foot also came down in that hole, but after mine. And so what may have been a break became like just an explosion and into 5 pieces. And I heard somebody screaming. This was the sensation of it. I was made aware that somebody was screaming, and I didn't know who it was. And then I like looked down, and something pretty terrible was happening. I could tell. So I don't remember it super well because the brain like shuts out super traumatic stuff like that, and I didn't remember some parts of it for many years. But like the entire school came running over to see what had happened. Like hundreds of people came over to see.
I mean, did it turn out
this kid had screamed so loudly from the field?
Right, that's what I was about to say. Did it turn out that the person screaming was you?
Yes, the person screaming was me, for sure. It wasn't quite a compound fracture, meaning like the bone didn't quite break out of the skin, but it didn't do that by just a couple of millimeters. It was almost entirely through. And now, which is 26 years later, it still hurts all the time. Hurts right now as I'm standing here. So that was a bummer. It was hilarious, right? That was a good story. I thought, funny. Yeah, for sure, dude. There I was on the way to the hospital in the back of my mom's van as they had taken out the they took out the back seat so I could lie down in it, so we didn't need to go through the expense of having an ambulance come.
Yeah.
So there I am hanging out in the back seat, and I'm like, wow, it's really terrible. And my friend had carried me to the back seat, and as he put me down, he was like, hey, are you okay? And I was like, this actually was funny. I was like, no, James, I'm not okay. You see what happened? Like, I do remember that happening at least. His name was also James.
Yeah.
And there I was in the back seat being like, well, I'll never be able to play hockey again. That was actually my first concern. And then I did. But in playing hockey, I also blew up a wrist and chest and shoulders and, So maybe I should have just stopped. Yeah, in retrospect.
Anyway, that's my time to retire.
It's my hilarious story.
I mean, for me, like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm thinking of all these random injuries that I've had that have not been pleasant. First time I went to Hawaii, I went to a hiking trail by myself, and I accidentally dislodged my toenail while I was hiking because I tripped trying to find a waterfall. I eventually found the waterfall and was able to wash off all the blood off my toe on that one. The funniest one that I probably have, I don't know if it counts because I'm not sure I was injured, but it was in elementary school. I was playing on the monkey bars and I slipped and fell, and I fell between, you know how the monkey bars have those little skinny paths that you can fall in, that you can climb around in. I slipped and hit my head on this bar over here, which bounced me off to hit the other bar over here, which bounced me off to hit the first bar again, which bounced me to hit I literally went like that and fell through. And the yard teacher actually, the yard duty lady actually came up and was like, took me to the nurse instantly. And then she's like, we're sending you home. And I was just sitting there. I'm like, but I feel fine. Like, I actually am okay. So in that instance, it was actually a legitimate situation of, it's a good thing I hit my head. Otherwise, I would have actually been injured, and may explain a lot of things about me to this day.
Dang, that's wild.
Yeah.
Oh, I told the ankle one recently?
Yeah, you did. Like last episode or the one before.
Oh, bummer. Okay. There I was. After probably 6 years of not playing hockey because my shoulder hurt so much. And one of my friends convinced me to play hockey with him again. So we took a road trip because we were going to play in like a little.
Is this a painful story? Because it's okay if you told the story. I don't need a new painful story.
So I'm all hopeful, right? Wow, I've been working out a lot lately. My shoulder feels a lot better. This is going to be great. I'm having a fun time playing with my friends, playing hockey. We hadn't played together for several years because of this. And then literally on shift one of what was going to be a 3-game road trip, I got checked into the boards with my shoulder up like that, and I immediately left the game. My shoulder felt like it exploded. It immediately felt like I just, I was playing hockey with one arm, right? The other one was basically a limp noodle. And so I took myself out of the game. I later, though, went back into the game for the final 2 periods because I think the adrenaline got to me, and I was like, I can do this. It's going to be cool. So I went back into the game, and, on my very first shift back in, I got checked into the boards with my shoulder up, and I actually left the game at that point. And later that night, as we were, sleeping in the hotel room, I really, really thought that I needed to go to the hospital. I really thought I needed to go to the hospital, but I was like, maybe I don't need to go to the hospital, and I'll just see how it is in the morning. But part of my brain was like, you should really go to the hospital, and I didn't go to the hospital.
Good job.
And I played in the next game. So anyway, I was not super smart as a younger man. And there are certainly reasons for why I ended up having all these injuries, including the fact that I went back and played games right away when I definitely shouldn't have.
Well, I'm gonna read another excerpt here from David's Avatar fan fiction over here.
Oh, are you trying to hurt me again?
I woke up and I realized that my foot had shattered. You see, I was playing football and there were gopher holes.
Oh boy.
All right, are we done here?
No, we're not. If you could relive, Michael Dimitro asks on YouTube, if you could relive a certain tournament moment at once, what would it be, and would you do anything differently in that moment that you could relive? Maybe in that hockey tournament, I wouldn't have held my shoulder up and gotten checked into the boards twice in a single game. It's probably one thing I'd do differently.
Nah, I like my moments the way they are.
I respect that. I think that's really a really cool take on this.
Yeah,
Like you need the thing about questions like this is you need to have gone through the thing to have learned what you should do differently next time. So going back and doing the thing differently means you haven't learned the lesson. In fact, just like James has never learned about the fact that his cats have long nails. Just never learned about that. Even though he's gotten busted by
injury story right
a billion times.
I'm wearing shorts, and she just jumped all and climbed on my leg with no shorts.
Sure did. Sure did. That's a good girl.
Ouch.
Anyway, you gotta learn by taking these L's. You know, I don't want to give up those L's. Those L's are important to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Except probably don't do the shoulder thing.
I mean, are they asking in terms of playing or commentating?
It's not mention whatever you prefer to say here.
Right. I mean, that's the question right there, right? I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, even from a commentary standpoint, like, I would like to say that I would almost kind of like to do the Tokido moment over again and not cry, but, like, I think people like the cry, right?
Man,
No way.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, come on.
So,
Bad call.
yeah, I don't really have anything necessarily.
Good work, everybody. We got one last one. It's from Artemis on Discord.
Hey.
She submitted this to me like a couple weeks ago, and I kept forgetting. All right, it's very long, so stick with me. Genetic engineers at Johns Hopkins University have developed a so-called super gorilla. Though the animal cannot speak, it has a sign language lexicon of over 12,000 words and an IQ of almost 85, and most notably, a vague sense of self-awareness. Oddly, the creature, who weighs 700 pounds, becomes fascinated by football. The gorilla aspires to play the game at its highest level and quickly develops the rudimentary skills of a defensive end. ESPN analyst Tom Jackson speculates that this gorilla would be borderline unblockable and would likely average 6 sacks a game, although Jackson concedes the beast might be susceptible to counters and misdirection plays. Meanwhile, the gorilla has made it clear he would never intentionally injure any opponent. You are the commissioner of the NFL. Would you allow this gorilla to sign with the Raiders?
No.
Thanks for the question. That's the good one.
Absolutely not. No.
You don't trust this gorilla who has
it's not
a
about
vague
trust.
sense of self-awareness?
It's not about trust. Sports are for humans. So only humans get to play in those leagues.
What about
I don't
Yes,
what?
I don't think there's
being
any-
a speciesist. No
I
other
don't think there's
species
any
can
rules
play.
about that.
What
I
about
don't think-
Air
I
Bud?
don't think there
What
are rules
about
about that.
Air Bud? He played basketball, and then he played soccer in World Pup, and then he played baseball in the 7th inning fetch. What do you have to say about that?
Those are 3 different dogs that are actors in movies. I'm talking about a real life hypothetical gorilla here. There's no way it's not possible. No,
There are no
absolutely
rules
not.
against non-humans playing. We just all assume that is the rule because it's only
There,
humans
there
who
is
can understand it.
absolutely rules against
Wait.
non-humans playing because
Wait,
you can
wait.
definitely you
Important-
can absolutely train an elephant to rush through an offensive line at the snap of a ball.
Do
And
not
if there's
believe.
an elephant running at you, you're not ever going to complete a pass. You're done.
I
So
do not
no,
believe
you do not
that
have animals in the
there
Here's
are
the-
no rules for sure in the NFL because partly
Hang
an
on.
elephant wouldn't
hang
be
on.
good because it can't actually hold a ball. It doesn't have hands to hold the
But
ball.
he's playing defensive tackle. He's playing
Hang on.
nose guard.
Hang on.
He's slow to start.
This is important here. Mario 1080p says that Air Bud has also played football and volleyball. What were the names of those movies? Like, I need to know what pun they use for those, because I spent a lot of times, like I just put on Twitter, my pun attempts at Air Bud playing esports, right? Like Air Bud, Call of Duty, right? Air Bud, Leash of Legends, right? Call of Duty, Rover Watch. Golden Receiver, that's right. I remember Golden Receiver now. What was the volleyball one? What could you possibly do for volleyball? Golden Receiver, that's good. But yeah, Rover Watch, Leash of Legends, and Call of Duty.
Those are good.
Spike's back? That's terrible. That's not even
Kenny
trying.
Fix has another good point, too. Animals cannot legally sign contracts.
That's true.
I mean, it's like when, what was it? You know, the horror movie, Frosty the Snowman movies, when it came out, right? I forgot what they were called. The first one, the tagline was like, he's chillin' and killin', right? And then the second one was, he's icing and slicing. And then me and my friends were all, okay, if there was, Jack Frost, there you go. We were like, if there was a third movie, what the hell would you say? Like, what's the new tagline? And I came out with, he's frostin' and accostin'.
Pretty good.
There you go.
You got some good ones today.
Yeah.
Nice work.
There you go. Nothing to do with the
Anyway, this gorilla. See, I think it depends on how self-aware it is. I'm not opposed to having an aware gorilla in the NFL. I think I'm not opposed to that. In a world where, granted, a gorilla attains like a human level intellect, yeah, why not? I don't see any particular reason not to allow that. I don't know that it would even be good.
Literally crush bones with the strength of its grip.
I mean, like, would you, if you knew, like, let's just say the comic version of the Sokovia Accords existed, and let's say there was someone like a Superman who had superhuman strength that you knew about in high school, would you let them play in football if he promised not to break anybody's bones?
I definitely would not. I would not allow Superman.
Once again, it's for humans, and that's an alien.
So you allow, okay, well, if it's not necessary, doesn't have to, Spider-Man, right? He can jump higher, he's stronger and everything like that.
Not. No, he's juicing, man. He got the spider juice. That's unfair.
For sure, I 100% agree.
So you're saying the gorilla, the cognizant gorilla, you would let play, but not the actual person with human intelligence.
Even though that gorilla has a strength of like 5 to 10.
Exactly. The gorilla is like a superhuman, right?
I'm always on the opposite side of all of these superhero stories. I think superheroes, while the myths are awesome and I really love the stories, would be terrible to have in real life. I would not at all want somebody who had that kind of power.
You're just anti-superhero then.
I'm 100% anti-superhero. Fact.
You wouldn't want someone who could save the city from us, huh?
No. I absolutely do not. I want us to do that. I don't need some bizarre weirdo with extra powers. No. In reality, I definitely think that real-life superheroes would be more like the boys' versions. Maybe not quite that nihilistic and weird, but probably more towards that end. And I don't want to have those people.
Yeah, I was about to say, David is Zemo, dude. 100% David is Zemo.
David is Zemo, yeah.
Take out all the super soldiers. Falcon and Winter Soldier was really good, by the way. Really, really good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it because I don't care about the characters.
You should watch it.
You should watch it. The characters are actually the best
absolutely
part.
David, trust me.
Yeah.
You should watch it.
Like, I would recommend that over WandaVision, even though WandaVision was also super good, too.
If the show was called Regular Old Army Dude and Some Guy, I would still tell you to watch the show. Fuck the superheroes. Like, it's actually just a great show.
Yeah. It talks a lot about the stuff that you're talking about here.
It does, yeah.
How many episodes is it?
6 episodes of about an hour long.
40 minutes apiece.
Oh. That's actually pretty doable.
Yeah.
Very easy watch.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll do that then.
You should do that.
Dude, you can't even possibly say that it's bad acting when one of the actors played a character so well that the actor got death threats on Twitter because people disliked his character that much. Like, that is some good acting, dude. That is some amazing acting.
Well, all right, we did it.
All right, that's it. Congratulations to the NFL's new Gorilla Superstar. Thanks to Rachel for the question. That's it. Oh,
We did it.
LA County had 0 COVID deaths 2 days in a row. Wow.
Dude,
Wow.
it's the weirdest thing.
That is amazing. Yeah, you briefly referenced it earlier, but LA was like the world capital of COVID deaths for a while, just a few months ago, and now 2 days in a row of 0, which is amazing.
I mean, we're doing a pretty good job of getting vaccinated, and crazy enough, people are doing a pretty good job wearing masks and stuff like that around
When's
here.
your second shot, James?
True story, this is going to be very weird. I'll be fine the next time I do commentary for Capcom Pro Tour the first night. The second night, if I show up and I'm commentating and I'm about to die, you'll know why. Because I will have gotten my second shot that afternoon. So a couple of weekends.
Good luck.
Not this weekend, but the next weekend. So it might be pretty scary for me.
Good luck. Also, yeah, 16-bit. There's a lot of people who like that game who are ass, unfortunately, as you know better than most. All right, let's get out of here. Congrats, everybody. It was another show. We did it.
And if Casmer's watching, keep the birds in the video because people want birds.
Bird 'em.
Yeah, people birds.
Yeah, come on, buddy.
Poor Casper.
He's a good fella. We like that guy.
Oops, you guys can't hear
One day,
there you go.
there was a guy, he was named Casper, and he was like, if it's popular, I hate it. And now I edit videos.
But he's maybe like a secret genius, though. It's weird.
That's true.